music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangle rise. Machine Pun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello and welcome to the Pun Show. I hope you had a great weekend. Unless you're a Packers fan, in which case, ha ha ha. The Bears fan in me came out after all. I was there for 15 years, and that was a heck of a game. The Bears are just not good for my heart, though. Every single game is just this insane conclusion. So I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys otherwise had a great weekend. The thing I want to talk about today is I really don't want to talk about Renee Wood and Jonathan Ross and all of that stuff. It's just insane. But I started thinking about that, and I just keep thinking about how the Second Amendment crowd is always saying that the Second Amendment protects the First, and how the Second Amendment is there to protect us from tyranny and all of that. And my issue with that is, where are you now? You know, is it only when you disagree with the tyrant that it's acceptable to take up arms against your government? Because if you want to actually think about it, based on your own logic, it doesn't say guns, right? It says the right to bear arms, and you're trying to say the car is a weapon, and in her mind the government was being tyrannical. So by your interpretation of the Second Amendment, she was exercising her Second Amendment rights. But I don't agree with your interpretation of the Second Amendment, by the way, and I don't think she was trying to kill him. But just if you are being logically consistent, then that's the case. I'm being logically consistent. So the other thing I always hear from the right is always get, like this guy Ian Massey here saying, using political positions and disabilities as slurs. I'm not going to put his comments up because they have slurs in them. But if you really want to think about it, if you want to, they're always saying orange man bad. And actually, nobody's criticizing him for being orange. We may joke about him being orange. And, let's face it, that man wears more makeup than Melania. And, it's something we can joke about, but that's not the reason for the criticism. It's just a deflection from all the valid criticism. And he keeps getting worse, He's he's the MAGA Nazi clan. So Is he an actual tyrant? Like, that's the question, right? Like, is he a tyrant? If he is a tyrant, there's some real valid reasons to criticize him. I'm on the logic team. And people are still allowed to dissent, Bob. Just like you were allowed to dissent when Biden won. And Biden won the popular vote. But this is not part of the criticism here. People did not elect him over the Constitution. They didn't elect him over the rule of law. So I want to go through. I put together a dashboard. It's linked. I put a link to it in the description on YouTube. Should be on your tweet on Twitter. It should be on the tweet. So if you want to access it and follow along, you can. So we got some weird comments here. You're on the blue team. I am on the side of logic. No. I am on the team of basic human decency. Yeah, I know. I was checking out the shorts last night, and this morning someone named FAFO74 was crashing out saying that most crazy stuff for somebody that hates this channel. I will say this, for whatever it's worth, the people that buy the super stickers and stuff from me generally tend to be people that disagree with me. So give them credit for that. If you'd use logic, you would pick a side. Again, my side is reality. I try to. My view is neither party is perfect, but I will choose what is better over what is worse. I have been practicing not using profanity as much, just for you, Kelly. Yeah, I've been practicing it too. If you follow me on Twitter, once you do, you know that I do not filter my Twitter. There is no sides. We live in oligarchy. Yes, we live in an oligarchy, but we do not live in the same oligarchy. One is worse than the other. Can't even read. Yes, I can't even read. Then why are you typing? And why aren't you putting apostrophes in can't? The First Amendment doesn't mean you can legally block roads. The roads weren't blocked. Jonathan Ross actually drove around her before he killed her. So yeah, the whole blocked roads thing doesn't really, stack up. But it's not just about this one incident. So I'm going to just share this and start going over it before we start getting into another, before we get derailed onto whether, a third straight show on why it's okay to murder her. I'm very good at it, but it's not a good look when you're trying to convey a point. Brother, we gonna need a time machine to fix this country. Most, if not all of us, would claim we are using logic. Most of us would. Not everyone is. I will say, if I am corrected on something, then I will, adjust. But a lot of times people just say things that are not correct and expect, I'm not going to just, like I went through the last weekend. I went through and I looked at the Renee Good thing from various angles. I put together like 5 or 6 different whiteboard slideshows, looking at it from whether she did anything legally wrong, whether he did anything legally wrong, what constitutes your civil rights in terms of being able to protest, and looked at the Supreme Court case history on each of these things. I'm not just, forming an opinion and then finding reasons to believe in that. I am looking at the facts and then forming an opinion based on the facts. It's obvious you can't form an opinion on your own. I don't know how that is obvious. She wasn't a real lesbian. I don't even know what that means. As a Gen Xer, I prefer critical thinking. Dumb. Okay, well, that's an opinion. I'm going to tell you why I don't agree with it. So let's start on this slideshow. Pat Resistance Kitty just informed me that there was she's actually in the studio with me, and she's not on the screen, but she kind of monitors things so that I can, know what's going on. And she just informed me that Trump just announced a new resort in Saudi Arabia. Another aspect of him, what does it say? Breaking: Donald Trump just announced he is opening a brand new resort in Saudi Arabia. So, yes, another example of him using the power of the presidency to enrich himself. So, all right, let's go into this dashboard a little bit and just start discussing this. Okay, is Trump a tyrant? I say he's a tyrant, and I have actual reasons to state that. These are not opinions formed for me by somebody else. This isn't MSNBC telling me this. This is based on actual research, and you can actually click on the dashboard link to confirm that this is a real thing. Okay, so first of all, what is the definition of tyranny? If we're going to talk about somebody being a tyrant, let's talk about them being a tyrant. One is rule by one person for personal benefit rather than common good. I forget, was it Socrates? One of those Greek philosophers came up with the idea of like different kinds of government, and tyranny is actually, to him, versus monarchy, where a monarchy is ruled by one person for the benefit of the common good versus personal benefit. So tyranny is actually in opposition to monarchy by that view. It's rule outside above the law. It's a systemic dismantling of institutional checks on executive power. It's the use of a state apparatus against political opponents. It's rejection of the rule of law in favor of personal authority. So, does he meet those definitions? That's the question. If he meets the definition of tyrant, then he is a tyrant. So, does he meet the definition of tyrant? Yes. And we're going to go through that, and we're going to discuss that, and we're going to show that. We're going to show examples of all of this, that yes, he is a tyrant, and I am allowed to disagree with tyrants. I'm allowed to disagree with tyranny, just based on the fact that it's tyranny. This is Rich. Cry harder, losers. He ain't a dick. Well, but let's go through and look at this and look at the facts instead of just sticking your fingers in your ears and yelling. No, 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 no. What do the facts say? Okay, insulting my wife. Trump has it his way or the highway. All right, so yeah, let's look at the facts. What do the facts say? Is Donald Trump a tyrant? All right, so where did that? Oh, here we go. Okay, explicit rejection of legal constraints. Does he reject actual legal constraints? He even said in a Times interview, my own morality. When they asked him, is there any limits on his global powers? And Trump said, yeah, there is one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me. He's saying that Congress has no authority over him, that international law has no authority over him. The only limitation he has over his global powers is himself. on international law. I don't need international law. When pressed if he needs to follow international law, it depends on what your definition of international law is, which is, I guess, according to him, his own morality. This is Latat Ses Moy or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. Literal claim that law doesn't constrain him, only his personal judgment. This statement came after the Venezuela operation and while threatening multiple countries, including Greenland, Cuba, Colombia, Mexico. All right. That's not something I made up. That's not something MSNBC told me. That is something Donald Trump told me. Donald Trump told me the only thing that can stop Donald Trump is Donald Trump's own morality. An adjudicated rapist, a person who tried to overthrow the United States government, a person who stole classified documents, a person that is just brazenly immoral, that brags about sexually assaulting women. The only thing that can stop him is his own morality. My older brother told me about Don's studio, 54 days. Disgusting, snorting Pepsi off of another dude's. Ugh. Well, that sounds graphic. Later, you whining loser. Trump's your daddy. So somebody just heard a few facts and ran away. This is how Trump supporters react to facts. So you want to talk about logic. How do you receive facts? Spreading what false information? Jesus was never a king. Yep, he said that was the only limit to his power. He said that. That's not something I made up. Hey, Skippy. Hello everyone, while you fight about America, I will have a monologue about WoW Air Force things. Wow. Again, the stadium. Oh yeah, the Saudi Arabia deal was made before he was president. What's he announcing that's breaking then? What's the new thing? You are allowed to disagree. You are not allowed to block nobody was blocking law enforcement officers while they were doing their duty. We know this because he drove around her before he shot her. He drove his car past her. The whole blocking traffic thing kind of falls apart when you realize he drove past her. How was traffic getting past her if she was blocking traffic? Yeah, so afternoon. This is weird. I'm seeing Bradbury 2250. Traitor calling the president a tyrant. How is that being a traitor? He's not. He's a tyrant. Trump has followed all the judge's orders. No, he's actually factually he has failed to follow 35% of judges' orders, which is more than any president has ever even come close to. So I'm not twisting facts. I'm looking at facts. Diddy, Clinton, Oprah, and Mike. So just general yelling and hollering. All right, I recognize you. You're a troll on many channels. Does this mean Kelly is in the big league? Oh, wow. Do I got a big time troll? Should I be flattered? In the late 90s, the USAF had the ATF program, Advanced Tactical Fighter. This is the program that would lead to the production of the F-22. Anyway. All right. Jesus is the King of Kings. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with it. Donald Trump thinks he is. Please explain to me how I'm a fascist pig when my behavior here has led you to believe this, or you are just name calling or just throwing bleep on the wall to see if it sticks. All right. So weaponized DOJ. He has been weaponizing the Department of Justice, getting back to whether or not he's a tyrant. He tried to prosecute James Comey, the former FBI director who investigated the Trump-Russia thing. He indicted September 25, 2025. He was indicted September of 2025 The statute expired since then. Trump publicly pressured AG Bondi. He actually didn't mean to publicly pressure AG Bondi. He accidentally sent out a Truth Social post instead of a DM to Bondi, which kind of makes me wonder what other DMs he's sending around. U.S. Attorney Anthony Siebert refused to prosecute him based on insufficient evidence. And so he was forced out. He was replaced with Lindsay Halligan, who had zero prosecutorial experience, and the trial was set for January 5th, but I think it's been thrown out of court now. New York Attorney General, who prosecuted Trump, he also tried to prosecute Letitia James, New York Attorney General, who prosecuted Trump, same pattern. Siebert refused, was replaced. Months of investigation found no evidence, facing charges anyway. That whole thing is just silly, and I don't know. I think that one's been dismissed too, on the same thing, that Lindsay Halligan isn't qualified. Adam Schiff, he tried to prosecute Adam Schiff. That one, they actually even broke the law in investigating him. So now the investigators are being investigated for their breaking the law while investigating him. They shared sensitive grand jury info with unauthorized people, and they tried to pose as FBI agents. Lisa Cook, he's tried to prosecute because she's just, on the Fed. Now he's talking about prosecuting. They're trying to indict Jerome Powell. So these are all just brazenly political prosecutions. They have nothing to do with anything anybody actually broke any laws or not. He's just going after everybody he disagrees with. He's just trying to prosecute people. This is using the power of the law in a punitive way. And absolutely is, and this is, he acts like Joe Biden was personally prosecuting him or personally having the DOJ prosecute him, which, if anything, is too far away from the truth. Joe Biden actually maybe should have appointed a special counselor on January 21st to investigate the crimes that Donald Trump committed just on January 6th. I think that a lot of people that don't support Trump feel that way. He clearly broke the law. He clearly violated the law. Going in the opposite lane. No, you can't see almost 10 minutes of footage of Renee blocking a lane. And still, cars were able to get around her. She wasn't blocking traffic. And the whole idea that blocking traffic is grounds for lethal force. It was a residential street. It's not like it was a highway or something. Jesus, just slow down for a minute, dudes. Honestly, think about. Anyway, I don't want to too many people just anything that to confirm Trump as right. Even the murder of a private citizen exercising her First Amendment rights because she was blocking a lane. Goodness gracious, where's your morality? Where's your soul at? Please explain to me. Okay. I thought, did you know that Biden commuted the sentence? I don't even know what that is about, or how it's relevant, or how that means Trump is a tyrant. Mr. has committed crimes and were prosecuted. No, we have evidence and documents. Are you saying that famous people should not be held at the same legal standard we are? Adam Schiff did not lie about Russia. Donald Trump lied about Russia. Donald Trump lied a lot about Russia. No, Joe Biden didn't stick the DOJ on Trump. The difference is that Donald Trump actually committed crimes that were being investigated. Donald Trump actually stole the documents, and they kept trying to get the documents back. And a special counselor, a special counsel, investigated those crimes and eventually indicted him on those crimes. Donald Trump actually incited violence and sicked a violent mob on January 6th on the Capitol building. And Jack Smith investigated that crime and prosecuted him. He did not start an open investigation just into Donald Trump trying to find some kind of mortgage fraud. There's a difference. Like, Donald Trump committed crimes, and those crimes were investigated, so he got indicted for those crimes. Joe Biden never said, find me something. Like, Donald Trump literally said, find a reason to indict Letitia James. They didn't change the laws to indict him, to prosecute him. They didn't. They've actually. You're conflating things. They changed the laws to allow women who had been sexually assaulted and not come out. They changed the statute of limitations on that, and he was sued for that civilly. And they didn't just change it for him. There were like thousands of other cases where people got sued too. They didn't change the law that he was prosecuted for in New York. That one is like they prosecute that 1,000 times a year. So it's not like he was the only, and they prosecuted it as a felony. I know on Fox News they kept saying this was like a novel interpretation of the law and all that, but actual history shows something different. Yes, using anti-Semitic slurs like shifty doesn't really put you in a good light. There's a letter posted by Biden to investigate. I don't think there is. The footage she is talking about was an AI video that went all over the Russian bot accounts. Oh, there's a fake video where she's there blaring her horn. And by the way, if she was, first of all, blaring your horn to warn immigrants that somebody's coming, that is a protected constitutional right. That's part of the First Amendment. This is the same thing as if you're see a speed trap and you drive past the speed trap and you see some oncoming traffic and you flash your whites to warn them about the speed trap, or holding up a sign to say speed trap ahead. All of that is protected speech. You're allowed to do that. And this has been through courts, and I've got a whole video on it. That's one of the whiteboard videos I did. So you can feel free to look at that. It's not illegal to, it's still illegal to block a lane. It's not legal to murder somebody over it. But there's one thing to say she's blocking a lane, and it's another thing to say she's blocking traffic. If traffic can get around, then she's not blocking traffic. Be accurate. So we can't talk about I don't know what you mean by destroy the economy, but Russell, you tend to have this thing where you just make these blanket statements with no facts behind them. The economy was never destroyed. The inflation was high because there was international supply chain issues that had nothing to do with Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't destroy the economy. He actually helped us recover from the COVID epidemic better than any nation in the world and faster than any nation in the world. This isn't saying Trump is right. This is pointing out what you ignore. I don't know what I'm ignoring. I'm talking about Trump. You deflecting is what the issue is here. Is it okay for Donald Trump to use the Department of Justice and weaponize the Department of Justice or not. He's doing it to go after multiple people, everyone who disagrees with him. And it's not just the Department of Justice. We'll get to that now. I'm going to go ahead and advance on this conversation rather than get fixated on this. Trump after Comey indictment, it's not a list, but I think there will be others. They're corrupt. These were corrupt. Radical left Democrats. No, there will be others. So this shows he has a list of people that he doesn't like, that he wants to go after, including John Bolton, which I guess I don't know what became of that, and George Soros and Christopher Wray. He's targeting all his political opponents with the DOJ. He's using the DOJ as his own personal weapon. And then there's economic warfare against opposition states. The $10 billion based on unproven fraud. And so now we're going to get into another derailment where people are going to pretend that they're going to try and use the straw man. There was fraud in Minnesota that was already prosecuted and being prosecuted before Trump ever even became president. But now he's using that fraud to make false claims of other fraud, all in states that voted against him. And then he's using this fake allegations of fraud to cut off spending for all the poor families in all of those states, basically. He has he's cut off funding for TANF, the cash assistance for poor families. That's $7 billion. $2.4 billion in child care funding, now a nationwide freeze. $870 million in social services block grant. Hundreds of $millions in Minnesota Medicaid payments that are being deferred, and SNAP administration funding withheld. All of these affect people that didn't have one thing to do with any fraud at all. In fact, all the people that have been proven to be guilty of fraud are already in jail. But he is using the government to punish states on the pretext that they're also committing fraud because they committed the sin of voting against him, or because they were stolen, according to him. HSA, House and Human Services, has not provided the data or detailed reports backing any fraud claims. The Nick Shirley videos were already debunked, by the way. He went to these places when they were closed, or when they wouldn't let him in because there was this crazy YouTuber dude and they had children they needed to protect. Most fraud is by perverted. Generally speaking, the fraud that does exist is not by the people that are receiving the funding, including in the Minnesota fraud. A lot of that was just like made up people. And some of it was by, families, but the majority of it was not. Individuals convicted of such fraud are overwhelmingly U.S. citizens, which is another thing. Not one of the people convicted of fraud in Minnesota was not a U.S. citizen. Not one of them was even a naturalized U.S. citizen. They were all born and bred U.S. citizens. And the one that was the ringleader of it all was a white woman. Real Minnesota fraud cases started in 2021 under Biden. That's when they were starting being investigated. The fraud actually started under Trump in 2020. Mississippi had a $101 million welfare scandal. Remember that, Brett Favre? Trump forgave that. So it's okay when red states do it, I guess. Ancient spokesman for too long, Democrat-led states and governors have been complicit. So this is about the Democrats. It's not about the fraud. It's about the Democrats. It's punishing states that are Democrat. The fraud investigation of California has begun. No evidence provided. There is not one single thing to establish that California has done the fraud or has guilty of fraud. The impact: millions of families lose food, healthcare, childcare, healthcare immediately. 5 states filed lawsuits claiming unlawful blocking of funds. A political attack on the most vulnerable in our society. And this is not going after people that did something wrong. This is not punishing people that did something wrong. I'm 100% for convicting anybody that committed fraud and sending them to jail and punishing them. But I don't see why poor families that need SNAP benefits to feed their children have to be punished because somebody in another state that they don't even know who is committed fraud. This is tyranny. This is just tyranny. It is punishing people because you want to. Kelly, you have definitely hit the big time. Bud Russell U7 is a prolific troll on many channels. Well, I'm so honored. Thank you, Bud. See this little bastard? We won't talk about anything that doesn't fit his narrative. Yeah. You mean I'm not talking about the thing you want to talk about that has nothing to do with the show that I actually spent hours preparing for? If you want me to talk about something, go ahead, buy a sticker, and I'll talk about it tomorrow. And then you can come back here tomorrow and I'll talk about it. But, you don't get to direct and navigate my show based on what you want to see. Okay. Sorry, just reading some private messages here. All right. So, yes, she lived there and was on her way to pick up her 3 kids. Also, there's no proof that she was participating with agitators. Not a single video of her following them otherwise. Yeah, I mean, it's not like people were following her around and recording her or something like that. There's a lot of just dishonesty. And the thing is, she didn't deserve to die. Being an agitator is legal. Even if she were being an agitator, this is legal. I have a whole video. Here, I'll post the link to it if I can. Gotta find it. Okay, here we go. So if you want to watch this later, just going to post the link here. This is a link to a video I made on the constitutional rights to protest and how they apply in this kind of situation. There was a case back in, I want to say 1998 or maybe it was even longer ago than that. Hill versus Houston, where they tried to outlaw doing things like recording at crime scenes or at demonstrations and stuff like that, recording law enforcement officers. And this was all declared unconstitutional. This is all part of free speech. Blaring your horn to warn immigrants is protected speech. Following ICE around and recording them is protected speech. Even if she was being like what Trump wants to call an agitator, that's protected free speech. You can't just label it agitator and take away somebody's rights. That's tyranny. The First Amendment and a car blocking a lane is not considered free speech. No, but honking her horn is. And blocking a lane is not grounds for lethal force. Like this is the mentality that I really wish the right wing would be honest about. Like everything has to be like you have to find some reason to vindicate her being killed. And it can't even occur to you that maybe the guy that did the killing of her was wrong. Even like blocking one lane on a residential street is not grounds to murder somebody. And like, think about this. He walked behind her car and he filmed her license plate. He knew exactly how to get a hold of her if he needed to. The whole thing is precipitated on this idea that she was blocking traffic, and he drove past her, and then he parked his car and he got out, and the other people were telling her to move. But this is what happens when you defend a tyrant, is that you have to be absolute about everything. You can't concede one thing, because the moment you concede that maybe it was wrong for this ICE agent to murder her over a blocking a lane on a residential street, the moment you concede that point, you have to start questioning everything. And that's your problem. That's your problem. You can't question anything. You question nothing. And that's what the party wants you to do. According to George Orwell, he doesn't want you to question. Do you try to drive off? I've never been told to get out of my car. And he had no grounds to tell her to get out of the car either. He has no, this is another thing. There are 3 things that ICE agents can detain American citizens for. 1, if they have a warrant. There's a warrant out for their arrest. There was no warrant out for her arrest. Number 2, they are physically preventing them from executing a warrant or something. Like blocking traffic, one lane of traffic, nothing was being prevented. There's nothing they couldn't do because she was parked there. And this this is talking more like physically trying to restrain somebody, like putting your arms around them, not just blaring your horn or something, according to the case history. And the third thing is if they watch them committing a federal crime. Blocking traffic is not a federal crime. It's if you want to call it a crime, fine, but it's a local crime. Call it into the police. It's not his job to stop that. This was a guy who took on more authority than he had, tried to intimidate a woman, and then shot her in the face 3 times because she didn't do what he told her to. And you're defending him, and you're blaming her. One is murder, and the other is a civil infraction worth a $50 ticket. Yeah, and that's the other thing is how long she was there. I've heard she was there for 3 minutes. She was there for 10 minutes. Honking her horn thing is, from what I understand, and from all the actual accounts of the witnesses that were there, and not according to the AI video, people said that she came up and she was just in the middle of a 3-point turn. She dropped her kids off. She dropped her one kid off at school, and she was driving back, which is what, more consistent with having the dog in the back seat than driving around stalking ICE all day. So she's driving back and she sees the ICE agents there, and she's like, I don't want to go through all that crap. And so she backs up and she starts doing a 3-point turn. Then the ICE agents start driving past her while she's like, and she's just waiting for the lane to clear. That's what the people that actually watched the whole thing go down say. So, your AI video, I don't care about. Also, immigration enforcement has no jurisdiction. Yes, and they don't. That's why, yeah, of course I'm behind now. But yes, he's right. A vehicle is okay. A vehicle is considered a lethal weapon. A vehicle is also just considered a vehicle. He was told her to stop. She was told to stop. They had no authorization. They had no legal reason to tell her to stop. They don't have the authority to carry out traffic enforcement. And number 3, this is really important. There's something called officer-induced jeopardy. And that's, if you go and you look, there was a case history of ICE agents were being instructed to get in front of the car to prevent people from leaving. And then they were creating these situations where they would shoot people. And there were a number of situations that this happened. And there was an investigation that was opened up into it. And there were like a dozen people that they had executed using these means, getting in front of the vehicle and then shooting people for trying to leave. This is called officer-induced jeopardy. If you put yourself in danger, then lethal force is not legal. This is like walking out into a gun range, a firing range, where people are doing target practice, and then saying that people were trying to kill you, and so you started firing back. You can't do that. I'm not going to get into whatever your right-wing propaganda says. If she gave birth to 3 kids, she gave birth to 3 kids. He's talking about how Biden, yeah, but the economy, it's funny how Biden destroyed the economy and Trump saved it, but Trump saved it before Biden destroyed. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. The economy is worse now than it was under Biden, and it's directly linked to Trump's policies. But somehow you guys have it in your head that Trump is saving the economy by making it worse. Anyway, we're getting into, all right, okay, at worst, and I don't even concede this much, at worst, she clipped him. She did not hit him. He was never in any danger of dying. He wasn't. And he could have just not stepped in front of the car in the first place. Trump withholding funds in blue states for childcare. That is tyranny. But let's make nobody's making excuses for the recent fraud. As I said, anybody guilty of fraud should go to jail. I'm not making any excuses for fraud. But why are you making excuses for tyranny? By using fraud as a label that denies millions of children food. That's not making excuses for fraud. Why should children who did not commit fraud be punished because somebody else in a different state committed fraud? This is why they're trying to hide this. A lot of people are complicit, and the DOJ didn't redact their documents. Oh, so you're talking about the Epstein files. Fake allegations of fraud. It's been, yeah, the Nick Shirley allegations of fraud are fake. That's been debunked. Which is, by the way, you notice they haven't said anything about that particular fraud. They talk smack about Tim Waltz and stuff like that, but they haven't actually reinforced that there was any additional fraud beyond that which has already been prosecuted. They just keep sending more ICE agents, as though ICE agents and DHS have something to do with investigating fraud. Why are they sending ICE and DHS agents to investigate this fraud? What do those things have to do with each other? It's just like when you say that it's, it's bad taste to call ICE agents, Trump's Gestapo. This is what he's using it as. And they're using just blatant fascist Nazi kind of imagery and slogans to recruit people. Like this whole, homeland and what was it? Anyway, like there's these advertisements, defend the homeland. Like all that kind of stuff is just blatantly Nazi propaganda that they're using to recruit people with. And then they act like Nazis. And then why are ICE agents investigating fraud? Why did they have to call ICE agents to investigate fraud? Are you related to Bud Bundy? What about Ted Bundy? Again, don't take my word for it. Look it up. But I appreciate the attempt to get MAGA to look something up there, David. But we both know that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, Rodney. What are you citing as? Were you? Man, things are getting out of hand here. Okay. Who did you play for? Offensive or defensive? Trump ain't a tyrant. He's a greedy, money-hungering. No, he's also a tyrant. Which, by the way, thank you for the reminder. Let's get back to this. Okay, so, all right, so we've established 1, he fits the definition of tyrant. 2, he's using the Department of Justice to prosecute people. 3, he's punished using the federal government to conduct economic warfare against states that voted against him. 4, state violence and domestic terrorist labels. So the Renee Good killing, here we are. Videos show the car did not hit the agent. I think that there are some people that somehow have managed to deceive themselves into believing that it does, in spite of the fact numerous reports and New York Times did a frame by frame analysis of this. She didn't hit him, and at worst she clipped him barely. He didn't even get hit hard enough to limp afterwards, if he got hit at all. And they call her a domestic terrorist. And this is one of the things that's really starting to get to me. It's just they have made it so that anybody that they declare is a terrorist is a terrorist. And whether that's some drug cartel in Argentina or people, on a boat off the coast of Venezuela or anybody they want, or just an American mom dropping her kid off at school and trying to come home. If you're a terrorist, you deserve to die. And if they say you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist. They just throw around this word domestic terrorist. Anybody that's anti-fascist is a terrorist. And anybody they claim is a liberal is an anti-fascist. They just make it anybody that they want to say should die, they can kill. How is that not tyranny? There's no rule of law in this. They have made themselves the entire law. If they say you're a terrorist, they can kill you. And it's not just hypothetical. They have killed over 100 people extrajudicially on the basis that they claimed they're terrorists. 2 of these terrorists, these alleged terrorists, were brought back to their country where they weren't even tried for anything. If they were terrorists, why did they get brought back to their own country? They rescued 2 of these guys that were in the boats, and they brought them back to their own country. Why are they letting terrorists walk free if they're really terrorists? No, they're just killing people and then labeling them terrorists to get away with it. And you guys, the MAGAs that are sitting there defending Trump right now, you're supporting it. You're supporting tyranny. That is something tyrants do. They just act like they unilaterally have a right to decide who lives and who dies. All right, going to the... So Russell here has got the very cogent rebuttal, blah, 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 blah. So I can see that Bud here does not like engaging in facts. When confronted with facts, he just sticks his fingers in his ears and screams, blah, 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 blah. I bet your wife has fun debating or arguing with you. Joe Biden put a 25... What does that have to do with anything we're talking about? Joe Biden putting a $25 million bounty on Maduro has nothing to do with anything. Joe Biden didn't invade Venezuela, conquer it, assume control of it, call himself president of Venezuela, and then declare that it's running its oil. Renee broke the law. Now she's in an icebox. See? Joke about people being murdered. Funny. It's the left who gets the bleep out of public property and then riot and loots. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? Why does that make it okay for Donald Trump to kill people? Trump is a pedophile. Republicans can't explain that away. All she had to do was... But, okay, first of all, there's no evidence she was following ICE around. Secondly, she should be able to follow around. Following ICE around is a constitutional right. Interfering with their operations so far as blaring her horn and warning people is a constitutional right. It is not... Exercising your constitutional rights is not grounds to murder somebody. What you want is for nobody to oppose Donald Trump. Your whole argument here is if you don't say what you believe in, you don't have to worry about getting killed. But I bet you are the same person who will say the Second Amendment protects the First. I prefer my ice crushed, thank you. It would be nice if PTS was rare enough to not need you. I don't know what that means. Cope, you loser. Now, that was the Biden administration. More about Biden. Telling someone that they think and feel is what a fascist does. I don't know. Don't know where I did that. I do know that I'm responding to what people tell me they think. A new video comes out showing that the ICE agent getting hit. I have not seen that video. Was that the body cam footage? You're a whiner. That makes you a Karen. Darren. Need more ice melt. Randall, big quiet when confronted with the fact that Trump is a PDF file. It's a crying shame that them keeps being a misgendered woman. Yeah. I bet you got really mad about like people celebrating Charlie Kirk getting killed. And I didn't think that was cool either. But Charlie Kirk would be ashamed of you, Kiefer. Just want you to know that. Charlie Kirk right now, he's looking up at you and he's being like, dude, that's too far. So more, the fraud that was convicted is convicted, but there are all the agencies that Nick Shirley went to and showed on his little camera have been debunked. There is no new fraud that has been exposed. I think, okay, so just as long as everybody is insisting on derailing this, according to what evidence Epstein implying so, the guy who had a clear disdain for Trump, I will say this: it is very true that Epstein had a very clear disdain for Trump. It is also true that during the peak of his little enterprise, he did not have a disdain for Trump. Only, and it's like I see things like how Donald Trump would sorry, just dropped my brain for a second. So Donald Trump was hanging around with him. Donald Trump was his best friend. And that's according to both him and Epstein. Like, they were buddies for 15 years during the entire time that Epstein's little enterprise was at its peak. And they went to parties together, including at the Playboy Mansion, where, you know, sex was probably involved. There was a birthday card that Donald Trump sent to Epstein that had like a suggestive drawing that Donald Trump made. There are, you know, the in the Epstein files, there are some of the things that have been released are from people that make accusations, and I will say they are unfounded allegations against Trump. And in a lot of ways, I think of these as like the VAERS report, where just, you know, people calling in a hotline and leaving a mail doesn't prove something, that unless it's looked into and vetted, and not all of these things have been looked into and vetted. But Donald Trump has not exactly shown himself to be an ally of the victims by redacting things that didn't need to be redacted, by not redacting things that needed to be redacted. There is adequate reason to think that he is blocking the Epstein files from being released. Only 1% of them have been released. I'm just saying there's a lot there that would suggest we need to release more. And I think that with the whole Epstein files, I don't think it's about get Clinton. I've said this so many times. I don't think it's about get Clinton. I don't think it should be about getting Trump. I don't think it should be about getting anyone. I think it should be about getting justice for the victims. And every time we make it about Trump, or make it about Clinton, or make it about any person, then we are doing a disjustice to the victims. Everything should just be about getting justice for them. And some of the victims voted for Trump. And some of the victims that voted for Trump are now very disappointed that they voted for Trump. So if you care about the Epstein files at all, if you care about the whole Epstein situation, if you care about the Epstein victims, then just release the files. That should be it. It should not be about protecting Trump or defending Trump or going after Trump or going after Clinton or protecting Clinton or any person. It should be about getting justice for the victims. I don't know how much more clear I can be on that. I don't know that's true though. And again, it's legal. It's legal. I know that there are so many things that I see bandied about on this with regards to Renee Good. And then I like go on Grok or I go on Claude or I go on ChatGPT and ask, is there any validity to this? And they're like, no, this is not, no agent, nobody is actually reporting this. There is a lot of Twitter news that gets retreated as fact. Bro, you're so stupid. I can't even listen anymore. Oh, well, too bad. MTG. She's not in Congress anymore. Constitutional rights doesn't make it okay to block a lane and impede. Well, it actually does. Yes, they are. There was an interview that showed us what part of the convoy to follow, harass, and stop ICE. No, there wasn't. There wasn't. She had just dropped her kid off at school. And how does an interview show something? She dropped her kids off. Did the entire convoy go and drop her kids off at school? Or was she like, no, I'm sorry. Did she have her kid and her dog while they were in this little convoy? Okay, well, that's an opinion. Your whole argument is that, no, my whole argument is that the orange tyrant is bad. And 77 million Americans disagree with me. So what? 81 million Americans disagreed with you when Biden got elected. You didn't take that. You didn't accept that. You're allowed to disagree with the president. That's part of what being an American means. And the president doesn't have the right to do whatever he wants just because he got elected. He's still bound by law. At least it used to be that way. Dude, her wheels returned the other way from the officer. If you watch the video, you can actually see it. Here's another thing about this whole thing. He knew for a fact that she turned the wheels the other way. And we know for a fact that he knew it for a fact because he recorded it. In his own video, you can see plain as day her turning the wheel against the way he's standing. And we know that he was looking at his camera when he recorded her doing that from other recordings. So he absolutely knew she steered out of the way of him. Absolute facts. That's why you see defense attorneys go on and say they wouldn't take this case. Defense attorneys would not defend him. Because A, it was officer-induced jeopardy. He created the situation by moving in front of the car. B, he started pulling his gun while the car was still in reverse. And there's actual case history of that, where somebody else started firing on somebody while they were in reverse and going slow. Number 3, all 3 shots were fired from the side of the car, as evidenced by video evidence. It is an absolute fact that he shot her when he wasn't in danger. He was clear of the path of the vehicle. And according to everything from the Department of Homeland Security's own policy to all the legal cases and history of it, where people have actually been prosecuted, there are people in prison right now who were officers who are in prison for doing what he did. Okay, so yeah, so many obvious foreign actors in this chat. It's hard to know who is like real and who's a bot. Every once in a while, somebody will like say something sensible, and you're like, okay, maybe he's not a bot. But see, then you get things like this guy. Just look at this loser boomer. What a great response. Either are you stupid or are you a troll? Is that like the best you've got? Come on, Brian. Man up. Put some hair on your testicles. You cannot interfere. Nobody was interfering. Okay, first of all, it wasn't a police investigation. There was no investigation going on. What was being investigated? He was driving past her. Did you mean to say operation? Again, there was no operation that they were interfering with, unless you want to say blaring her horn, which she wasn't doing in the video. But if she were blaring her horn, it'd still be legal. You can warn people. Several homeowners had their recording leaked. Nobody had their recording leaked. They shared their recordings. And I keep seeing MAGAs refer to the cell cam footage from John Ross as body cam footage. And I find that hilarious because they're like acting like this was some sort of like gotcha, when it proves this idiot was recording it on his cell phone. I like to troll Charlie's events. Makes me sad he is gone. Charlie Kirk was... He was just an idiot. Like, he would just... Like, his whole thing, his whole gambit was prove me wrong. It was never, I'll prove I'm right. And then if you proved him wrong, he would just pretend he won the argument and then move along. I shadow a right-wing prepper group. They use Kirk's death to confirm that they're coming for our families. Crazy amounts of white supremacy and anti-Semitism in that pile. Doesn't matter what her intent was. The agent had reason to fear bodily harm, death in the moment. Actually, that's not true. There's something called the totality of the circumstances, which means that you can't just look at just that moment in time where he made the decision. That he put himself in that situation by walking in front of the car has to also be considered. And that's called officer-induced jeopardy. And officer-induced jeopardy is not grounds for lethal force. This has been established in previous courts, in previous criminal trials, where officers are actually in jail for shooting somebody after offering officer-induced jeopardy. It's specifically when it comes to cars. I'm sorry. My kitty cat is hungry. Apples to oranges. Kirk was sitting having a debate. The other was... I don't know what you're trying to compare those things to. I am saying that somebody making fun of somebody getting murdered is bad, period. And the other wasn't hitting her, wasn't hitting a federal agent with her car, by the way. Suddenly, the car didn't start accelerating until there was a bullet in her brain. She was just moving forward slowly. Then he shot her in the head. Then the car took off because her death spasms or whatever caused her to hit the accelerator. She was moving slowly. Like, what is wrong with you people? Where is your soul at? Nobody would be dead. I repeat, nobody would be dead if he had not shot her. He would not be dead. She would not be dead. Clip that. I bet you wear women's clothing at night. Why are you thinking about what kind of clothes I wear at night? That's kind of weird, dude. Man. Oh my gosh, what a fool. Oh, he believes the Somali lies. Yeah, let's get some racism thrown up there in our ignorance. What fraud? You guys just throw around the word fraud. The only fraud you don't care about is Donald Trump's. No, I'm not blaming AI for everything I don't like. I just called one thing AI video because it probably is, considering she had just dropped her son off at school. So this idea that she was following around people for 10 minutes, like, why would somebody have just randomly been filming her following somebody around for 10 minutes? Think about it. Like, really think about it. Why would somebody have filmed her following ICE around? Why would that footage be available? Like, think. Just at that time, she was just a random person. Debunked by who? You never offer. I offer sources all the time. I have sources right in this dashboard that I have shared in the description for what I'm saying. What am I supposed to be offering sources for? And what do you mean debunked? I don't even know what you're referring to there. Epstein visited the Obama White House like 20 times. Stop it, man. I don't care. I don't think that's true. I mean, it's just stop saying stuff that doesn't matter about Trump. And this is what I like. You guys can just like say whatever you want, and and then it holds true until it's proven wrong. Prove to me that Bill Clinton or that Epstein visited the White House with Obama like 20 times. Go on, prove it. Bro has to think of a lie to come up with. I don't know who's coming up with what lie. I will never trust or support government ever. If you do, you're slow in the head. Source for I don't know for what. No source. I don't know what you're talking about. Best friends BS. They were no. They both made comments about how they were friends with the other one. I mean, like, you can look things up on your own. Huggy Bear. Sorry, my cat is about to have a catastrophe. Hey, Patsy. Can you take over for a minute? Okay. I'm gonna have Kitty here take over for a second. I need to go take care of my cat. He's trying to like he's very mad. He hasn't had his lunch.
Well, I certainly know that feeling. Mine will threaten to eat my face whenever my cats have not gotten to eat. It's me, Resistance Kitty. Patsy is my human name. I'm unsure if he has me up here so that you can see me or not. Or if
you're on the screen. If you go into the StreamYard,
yeah.
If you look up at the top right, there's a comments box.
Oh, I see it.
And then there you can see the comments.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everybody. All right. So, Rainbow Kitty. Oh, hey. Good to see ya. All right. So there's quite a few trolls that are very clearly Eastern European based on the types of things that they're saying out on the chat. So just don't engage. It's just not worth it. Although any of my magas that want to have like a quality conversation where we're actually talking about facts, I would be happy to do, rather than running around calling each other liars and transgender for all and all the little normal bullshit talking points that we know are just strictly repeated from the cult's minister of propaganda. What we'd like to do is have actual conversations. So first and foremost, while I have you guys for a second, I'm going to first start with a call to action for anybody out there that is actually part of the resistance in fighting the fascist regime. We need to call Senator Thune and let him know that the Senate needs to vote on that extension for the ACA benefits. It has passed the House. It is not partisan. It is a 3-year offer to extend the credits. There's even wording in it that talks about if there is a new health plan that comes up that's better, that they can shift that budget funding and all of that. So it's super important that we vote and say, yes, we want that extension. We already have, I think I have about half of my caseload that's already lost all of their health care now. They have zero health insurance at all anywhere. So, and as a direct result, and we also need to see if there is a way that people can like reapply for whatever healthcare that they were going to be able to get. The House has been excused today for some reason. They were supposed to go in and vote on several items. One of them has to do with like shower heads, which is ridiculous. Who gives a shit about shower heads? I certainly don't. So that is something else that is the case. Also, if you get a chance, jump on resistanckitty.com and you can see that we have some petitions up there in our newsletter from today in regards to Venezuela, Greenland, and the ACA. So, well, I think, so I see that Brian Schwelly 2988, is it Schwelly or Z, like, is it a Z or is it an S? I don't know. English is not my first language, so I get kind of mixed up on some of them. But you pay for families' health care. Why should I supplement? Well, actually, universal health care, we know, well, the number one reason for bankruptcy in the United States is health insurance bills. We also know that the majority of Americans actually don't have access to appropriate health care because they cannot afford it. If we had a universal health system like every other country in the world, that is not third world, okay, have successfully done, and it's very good. I have been through the German system, through the system in GB, and the care is superior to what you have here in America. It truly is. And no, it doesn't take forever. I had a patient, a Canadian patient, who found out she had breast cancer, and it was less than a month before she had the mastectomy. They paid for her to get restructured, and she started her chemo and her radiation, and she didn't have to work because she was able to have income from the government come in while she was undergoing her chemotherapy and recovery. So with that being said, why? Because we're all Americans, and if we're a collective, you know, the government needs to do something for us and needs to do more than just start wars. There needs to be an infrastructure in place so that we can take care of one another. Me as a business owner would love for the government to pay for healthcare because that means I can put more money towards things like salaries, for example. Additionally, the healthcare system is destroying healthcare providers. We are just exhausted, and the life of a nurse and a therapist and a doctor are much, much shorter these days. I can't tell you how many people are leaving healthcare right now because of the absolute chaos of it. So the system is broken. The ACA it's very obvious that many of you don't remember what it was like. I have worked in healthcare my entire life, and I am telling you that the ACA saved lives, thousands, millions of lives, because it allowed people to get health insurance who couldn't, people who couldn't start businesses, people who could not because they could leave their jobs. They were stuck at their employers and could not grow because of the health insurance aspect. Now, what has happened is that the insurance company has raped the government, taken advantage of the ACA, and has made record profits as a result, because We didn't write the legislation well enough to prevent oligarchs from stealing. And that is one of the biggest problems. So health insurance, yes, is an absolute scam, but is the only option that we have in this country at this time. I think the government,
like,
I absolutely think that the government needs to keep their ass out of anything with health insurance. It just needs to be a one-payer source. It needs to be through the government. We need to use this as another option for people to serve in public service like the NHS does. There is lots of really good things that are involved with it. Oh, and you're back. I just came in and kind of going on. I kind of gave a little bit of a, hey, we're getting ready to vote on we need to contact Senator Thune to call a vote on the ACA extension. So, you know me, I'm always about like, okay, quick, let's do our thing to do. This is your resistance thing to do today.
I think that the thing about ACA that maybe gets lost is that it's turned into like the Democrats are for the insurance companies and trying to protect the insurance companies, which is really, really ironic because the insurance companies were very, very against ACA. They actually, they put millions and millions of lobbying dollars into preventing the ACA because the ACA actually limits how much money they can make. It says, you know, depending on your situation, there some people it's 80% of your insurance some companies, for some policies it's 80% of the revenue from premiums has to go to healthcare, and for some it's 85%. But you know, different kinds of policies. But the insurance companies were actually making more money, and the rate of inflation. They act like insurance wasn't going up, or there was, you know, they always say, "Oh, the Democrats broke the system," as though the system wasn't broken. Like the ACA wasn't a remedy to a broken system. The rate of inflation of ACA before ACA was twice what it is now. And that's why we needed something. Now, the ACA itself was also never meant to be a final thing. Even Obama said that. It was meant to be a step in the direction.
Next direction.
The final destination should be that there aren't insurance companies at all to have to deal with. Like, we are the party. When we say, you know, like you get people saying, oh, well, we should just get rid of insurance companies altogether. And then they want to replace it with nothing. Like medical savings accounts. Like that, you don't know how healthcare insurance works at all if that's what you're thinking of. Or healthcare pay. That's just going to collapse the entire healthcare system. Sorry.
I can tell you, in the year 2000, I had to pay for, I was in the midst of a divorce and graduating from med school, and I had to get my own health insurance. Now, I was a healthcare provider. My healthcare cost me over $2,500 a month in the year 20,000. And 25 years ago, it was $2,500 a month. That did not include maternity. And I still had to pay another $8,000 to $10,000 to have my eldest son. So the ACA helped a lot.
I think what Kevin is, hey, Germany. Germany has a universal multi-year healthcare system that combines
both. You use both.
Yeah, and that's where I think I can agree. Like, kind of something along the lines of the way that Medicaid is, or Medicare, not Medicaid, where there's like a basic package that's kind of like with your that's guaranteed, and then you can kind of like up that out of your own private funds, something like that.
Yeah, you can like
and with the Medicare, there's private insurance that enhances your public insurance.
Exactly, that you can pay for, that helps. And what it does is like increase dental benefits and vision benefits, and often, sorry, I'm fixing my little computer.
Although I think vision benefits, I don't think other countries like separate like your eyes and your teeth.
They
as
do.
being
They
apart
actually,
from your
yeah,
other health?
some of them do actually. That it's a like dental care in Great Britain is quite a different thing from
Hmm.
the NHS. So I call teeth luxury bones because that's what they are. You only get to keep them if you can afford to in America. But I agree with you. I think healthcare needs to be healthcare, whether it's vision, teeth, any of those things. And quite frankly, the amount of taxes that we pay every month should more, and or every year as Americans, at least the middle classers do, can more than cover what we can with healthcare. And it would save so many things. It would save homelessness. It would save radical debt. It would help providers have a living wage. It would help to streamline things. So, if this country is so proud of its VA system, I mean, right now the Trump administration is saying their VA system is the greatest in the world. Great, then let's expand it for everybody.
So
Do you if you maybe you have healthcare, but maybe there's a gap in your healthcare and you end up having a heart attack. Do you want the $180,000 that an average heart attack is going to cost you? Or do you want to just die? Because quite frankly, that
you
most
should have
people
thought about
just,
that before you had a heart attack. That's
yeah.
so.
And
This
this is
person
not about-
says, how can you be a good person and not believe in equity? I don't even know what that means. I don't see how being a like not believing in equity makes you a good person. And I don't know what you mean when you say not believe in equity, because I know that a lot of people on the right misunderstand what we say when we mean equity. And I'm not going to get into a debate over what equity actually means. I'm just saying, when you say be a good host and not believe in equity, what do you mean, so that I can answer your question according to the meaning of the word that you mean, and whether or not I think that entails being a good person. If the answer is no, which I don't know what the answer is, are you planning on staffing your single payer system with evil people? I don't know what evil people means.
Yeah,
I don't know what you mean by that. I feel like this is not an honest or genuine question. If you could reframe it in a way that's actually honest and looking for an answer, instead of making a snide remark with a question mark on the end of it, I'd be happy to answer it. That would be a good host. Okay. Holy gymnastics, you Democrats never want to take responsibility for people's demise. States went from 5 companies to 1 in all states. Did we enter the year 20,000? Okay. That the Democrats didn't do that. What did that was a number of policy changes to the ACA that the Republicans did that made it
so that
impossible for private insurance companies to compete and to stay profitable. And actually, that's a Republican responsibility. They're the ones that did things like remove the fine for the individual mandate for not following they took away the fine. They took away the funding for like if you had there was something called a soft, I want to say soft, what was when the thing first started, there was this whole question mark about we have no idea what the risk pool is. And so we don't know where to assign our premiums at, because they also had this law that part of it was the 80 or 85% tied to profits, right? Like you couldn't make excess money off of your premiums. And so then how do we assign the premiums to where we're not losing money? That became the question, right? We don't know what the risk pool is. And so there was, if you go over, then some of the money that you went over by goes to the companies that went a little bit under. And so as a way to negate that, to make it so that you didn't lose money by offering people insurance. And then the Republicans took that away. So then the insurance company said, look, if there's no way I can, make profit off of this, why do I want to continue to invest in it?
Mhm.
And so they pulled out of the market. The whole idea was to have a marketplace. The Republicans, believe it or not, what actually happened, as much as Republicans talk about capitalism and free enterprise and all of that stuff, they're the ones that actually discouraged it.
Mhm.
So, like you say, do you want to take, nobody's taking responsibility for people's demise. I don't even know what people's demise is. But if you want to talk about responsibility for companies pulling out of the marketplace, that's the Republicans. The average contribution rate is around 14.6% of gross salary, with additional fees for certain services. Public health insurance covers most costs, while private insurance company can provide additional ben. Oh, okay. This is for Germany, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When you make health insurance mandatory, that's communism BS.
That's not communism. Please take a civics course. Please.
Otherwise,
You
when
want to know what communism is? It's what Trump is doing, where he's taking percentages of all these companies that he's allowing in and out, which I suspect is why Exxon pulled out of the Venezuela deal, because they didn't want to get caught up in that.
Well, Venezuela didn't want any part of
I mean Exxon.
the Venezuela Exxon didn't want any part of the Venezuelan oil because it's just not profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's trying to force private companies into doing something they don't want to do, which is a lot closer. If Joe Biden had tried to force a private company to try to invest in something that loses money, I think the Republicans might have, like a little bit of, might be a little bit upset about that. Anyway, I want to get back to the point of today, which is that Donald Trump is a tyrant. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we got on.
And the whole thing that he's doing with businesses is part of that. They either do what he wants or he doesn't. By the way, one of the big things that happened over the weekend is that the American Academy of Obstetrics and Gynecology has refused all federal funding in order to make sure that they aren't forced to be putting patients at risk with their recommendations.
Okay, so
That's good.
The legal experts responding to Renee Good's killing, is the administration's calling her domestic terror, is simply an attempt to malign a protester and justify her killing. Former FBI agent Michael German, there is no law that authorizes the U.S. government to designate any group or individual in the U.S. as a domestic terrorist. And that's what I was trying to get at, going back 15 minutes. Domestic terrorist is not a thing according to U.S. law. If you want to talk about domestic terrorists, then you could talk about the people that attacked the Capitol building on January 6th, 2021. But the reason nobody got prosecuted for being a domestic terrorist is there's no law that identifies what a domestic terrorist is. Like, that's not a thing. And so when they say she's a domestic terrorist, that is a made up thing about a person that isn't true, isn't even remotely true. If she were honking her horn to warn immigrants, that's not a terrorist activity. Even if you want to say it's illegal, and it's not terrorism. Terrorism is a very specific thing. Terrorism is using political violence to achieve political ends. And she did, who was she attacking? She was, if you want to say she was sitting in the car, parked illegally, parking illegally is not an act of terrorism. It doesn't have any casualties. Like, it's not making a threat. It's not like a terrorist activity. Why are they calling her a domestic terrorist? To justify killing her. That is it. That is the only reason they have to call her a domestic terrorist, because their state-sanctioned Gestapo ICE people murdered her, and so that makes her a terrorist. That is that is. I'm sorry if it hurts your little MAGA feelings, but that is tyranny. The next thing they're doing is they keep threatening independent institutions. DOJ is opening criminal investigations into federal chair Jerome Powell. Why are they investigating him? He didn't commit any crimes. Even they're not clear on what the crime is. They can't even tell what he did that was illegal. So Powell's response is this is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. The one thing that we have going for us on this in terms of just the side of reality is that now he's putting other people's money where his mouth is. And so the stock market did not respond very well to this. So if the stock market starts to go under and the people that have a lot of money in stocks, the ones he's been ingratiating himself to, if they get upset, he might have to listen to them. The stock market's dropped. The dollar is weaker. Bond yields are rising. The concern is complete erosion of Fed independence. Nobody wants that. Not even MAGA shouldn't want that, because Donald Trump's only going to be president for 3 more years. Hopefully, if he follows,
he's going to die soon. If that guy is on his last legs, either that or they're going to throw him under the bus for the Epstein files. It's going to be one of the.
But if he is president for more than 3 years, it's because he's a tyrant. Like, the Constitution is pretty clear. He can't be president for more than 3 more years.
I am tired of the right and the people in the comments sexualizing everything.
Are they doing that again?
They're doing Trump is your daddy thing. Do you understand what that term means? Do you understand what the connotation is? First of all, he's not my daddy, and he never will be my daddy. And y'all jorking it over there, put it away and focus on what the facts are.
So Lolly trying to portray her as parking illegally might be the most idiotic asinine statement. Well, it's the MAGAs that keep making that argument.
Exactly.
Minnesota Ice Watch trained to abuse police. Investigate Joe Powell. His claim.
Where do there are
this is like, are you a Russian bot?
How do you get this?
This is just like, no. Okay, hang on. I feel like I need to do this. Okay, I want to see how. Okay, hang on. Let me. Is Jerome Powell sending $3 billion to China every month?
Mm-hmm.
See what Claude says about that.
You guys really, your cognitive dissonance is just, it really is so very odd.
No, that's not accurate. Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve don't send money to China. What you're likely seeing is a misleading characterization of interest payments on U.S. Treasury securities. Here's what actually. Also, China holds approximately $800 to $900 billion in U.S. Treasury bonds. They're one of the largest foreign holders. The U.S. Treasury Department, not the Fed, pays interest on those bonds to whoever holds them. At current rates, 4% monthly interest payments to China would be roughly $2.6 to $3 billion. These are routine debt service payments not being sent by Powell. So it's actually, if you want to be strictly accurate, it's the Trump administration sending them $3 billion a month. Because if it's the Treasury Department, who's in charge of the Treasury Department?
Hi, baby boy.
Kitty, who's in charge of the Treasury Department?
Who's in charge of the Treasury Department? Isn't that the head of the Treasury Department?
And who is in charge of the head of the Treasury Department?
The people.
No, the president. It's part of the executive branch.
Right.
So Donald Trump is sending him $3 billion, China $3. If you want to like blame it on somebody, but actually what they're doing is just paying interest owed
on debt
that is being increased by Donald Trump increasing the debt. I do not, by cutting taxes for the guy that is sending China billions of dollars in a month. I do not even watch MSN. I am educated. I watch MS now. I watch MS Now, which is what it's called now. By the way, if you watch a recorded show on MS Now, is it called MS Then?
Sorry.
See that I need live reactions sometimes.
You make me snort laugh at least once an episode.
So,
but I'm never on camera to snort laugh in front of you. But yeah.
That was I think that, you know, like I get so tired of like MS Now being compared to Fox News. MS Now didn't get sued for like, how much did they lose in the Dominion lawsuit?
Oh, hold on, I'll tell you.
You can't because you all act truth. I can't what? Oh, you don't know? It's because of the 3 buildings and whether it flowed out elsewhere. I don't even know what that means.
787.5 billion.
700 Fox News, right? And that was a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
That means that they were worried it was going to be even more.
Mm-hmm.
You're questioning the use of the word terrorist, but you use the word, no, I used the word Gestapo.
Yes, because that's exactly what it is.
And yes, using the military, using the Gestapo actually didn't wear masks.
Yeah, they were braver.
The Gestapo, when they said, show me your papers, if you showed them your papers, they took yes as an answer. ICE doesn't do those things. ICE is executing people on the streets for exercising their First Amendment rights.
And minimally running around, additionally threatening.
My 401k is doing just fine. I have a fidelity plan through my employer.
You know what?
I'm not going to make any fidelity jokes. I'm not. I want to, but I'm not.
Great for you, but you are one out of billions. And
I don't even want to go into
right
now. The whole stock market is being propped up by AI. If you look at the last, even, and this is not about Trump. This goes back to Biden. The AI investment is massive, and it's basically propping up not just the stock market but our entire GDP right now, and it's been that way for a couple of years. You take the AI out of the picture, and the rest, everything else is down. The only thing up is ICE, and it's like 93% of our GDP growth is all dependent on AI investment,
which the government is doing most of.
Well, the government is enabling. It's complicated. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Like subterfuge going on. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of chicanery involved in this, where you have like Microsoft borrowing from a company that's borrowing from another company that's lending out their chips to another company, and it's kind of all this big house of cards that if one thing goes wrong, it could bring down the whole thing. It's like the mortgage crisis all over again. That it's just we're in 2007 right now,
but it's bigger.
Oh, much bigger, and right now the economy is much more delicate.
Mm-hmm.
She was just a good citizen and just protesting. She literally had no criminal history at all.
She literally had just dropped her kid off.
Like the idea that she was some terrible person or whatever. You didn't, like, how do you know who she was there, bees? Like, you act like you know something we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you know who she was? You just want to smear her because you have heard her smeared.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with her. You know who has a history?
Donald Trump.
John Ross, the guy that murdered her.
Oh yeah, that's right, him too. You know, he's on a government watch list. I pulled up his background.
Oh my goodness, he's on a.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And his previous encounter. Oh, hey, Rainbow. I didn't know you were here.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Can I call you? Can you call girls buddy? Can I call you buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like.
Yeah, but I don't really. I'm so gender anything. I try to be as gender neutral in my speech as I can. So it doesn't matter to me.
Ronnie says you're supposed to ignore trails, not let them derail it.
I know.
Yeah,
I apologize.
agree.
That was my beef. I'm just so tired of them sexualizing everything. They're obsessed with genitals.
I just tend to like
all
click
fans.
down through the comments and then I'll skip over a bunch. I just randomly pick on them now. We are so fortunate to have President Trump. Well, tell that to the millions of families that just lost their food because somebody filmed fake video in Minnesota.
Why are we fortunate to have Trump? Tell me 3 things that has made your life so much better that we feel the need to praise an imaginary friend for having him.
So Kitty, what do you think about what Kitty had to say?
Take the plate number.
No, I just randomly pulled up your comment. So I thought that was funny since you're right here. Minneapolis police could have done their job, and Minneapolis police weren't there.
No.
If Jonathan Ross was so worried about a traffic infraction, Jonathan Ross could have called the Minneapolis PD and had them come out and take care of it. Jonathan Ross, as an ICE officer, has zero authority to act as a traffic cop. They cannot enforce local laws. They have no, that is only if they see somebody breaking a federal law, they can take care of that. But he had no ability, he had no authorization to go and detain her. We are a country built on law and order. If you don't like the laws, move to a country that doesn't care about law and order. Okay. I don't know if who this comment is directed at, but I would say that we have a president who was convicted of 34 felonies that did not move to another country that doesn't have.
And he's a rapist and he's a pedophile.
And he was indicted for a bunch of other laws that he wasn't held accountable for. And I might add, he is currently just running over law and order. So I don't know if you're in agreement with me or not.
Order that involves this crew, and you've been far too desensitized, and clearly do not understand how the rule of law works. You don't get to be selective on the rule of law. The rule of law means everybody is held accountable and equal, and he's not.
Somebody keeps making this joke about pronouns. You're on timeout.
I'm on timeout?
No. The person that keeps making. I'm not going to put the thing up there. But yeah, no. Pronouns, first of all, learn what they are. It's not a verb tense. And using that as a joke for a dead woman is just disgusting. Like, where is your moral stand? Like, you think Jesus is up there in heaven laughing at your little Christian joke there? Remember when Stacy Plaskett was texting Epstein during a live?
I certainly do.
Not sure what that has to do with anything.
But I certainly do. And once again, she is being held accountable with the committee. They are actually have her set up to be questioned about it.
It's really hard to fix all the things the government completely screwed up, but complaining might help. It's just, your whataboutisms really don't, like, why can't you can any MAGA supporter, any MAGA person tell me one thing wrong with Donald Trump other than he's too awesome or whatever? See, you can't find a single thing to criticize Trump about. And that should be a problem to you. It would be a problem. I found faults with Obama. I found faults with Biden. I had faults with Hillary Clinton. I had faults with Bill Clinton. I could look at them and say, I don't agree with that. But somehow you guys can't find any fault with Donald Trump.
That's so
you have to defend every single thing he does. He overthrew a country without consulting Congress. He is now calling himself president of that country. And he's taking their oil. He's got a company called Trump Media, which owns a part of a company called or he own it when he owns a part of Trump Media. Trump Media owns Blue Water, which is trying to own Citgo, which is Venezuela's largest oil company. Right? And you don't have a problem with him conquering Venezuela and taking their oil when he can personally profit billions of dollars off it, even when he's trying to force companies like Chevron into buying the oil. Who do you think they're going to buy it from? Why do you think ever since he started talking about the cartels, right? Before it was always the cartels this and the cartels that and domestic terrorists. He hasn't uttered a peep,
except for Mexico.
not one peep about drug cartels since he took it over.
They had to
Not
drop
one peep.
charges.
Not one peep about having a democracy. He says we're going to run it indefinitely.
Charges.
It's not about Maduro. It never was. It's not about the cartels. It never was. What it's about is Donald Trump getting more cha-ching in his cash or in his pockets.
Just like Greenland is, just like Mexico is, which he's also, just like Cuba is. Everything is just about serving himself.
You wear a mask, you said you wear it because, well, that's a non sequitur.
What did it say? I missed.
Oh, it says you wear a mask, you said you wear it because of COVID. And I'm like, well, I wore a mask to keep myself from getting COVID. Yes.
I do the
ICE
same.
wears a mask to keep themselves from being exposed for what they're doing. They are so courageous and proud of what they're doing. They have to hide. Fun fact for you, Fox is the number. Okay, that's because one, it's like they act like Fox is the #1 news network, being is a thing. I don't really care. They are the #1 news network because they're the only real fake news company. Everybody else watches news. Like most people don't watch news for entertainment. #1, like people do other things for entertainment. Like most reasonable people do other things for entertainment.
Yeah.
They don't like. But this is anger sells. All right, and getting people pissed off sells money. All right, it sells advertising. It gets eyes. Like some people just want to be pissed off, and they watch Fox News because they can get pissed off about things, not because they're trying to learn, not because. And it like did you know that the #1 news audience, the people that get their news mostly from Fox News, are more likely to not believe things that are true and more likely to believe things that aren't true. Fox News is the most misinformed audience that there is. That goes along with, if you want to say that's also because they're the #1 news network, then fine. But it's also the news network that had to pay out nearly $1 billion
and
in a lawsuit because they were lying. And it's also the news network that had to go into court and say, literally, their defense was, we aren't a news network, we're an entertainment network.
I was just going to say that was their entire defense. We're here for entertainment, not news.
Now that was a successful defense in a previous lawsuit. And don't even like get me into what Tucker Carlson's producer had to say about you guys. What did he say? They're a bunch of cousin fornicators.
Stupid idiots.
Like that's what they think of you, not what I think of you. That's what they think of you. The regime has taken power with no plans to leave. Blame MAGA, not previous administrations. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think that our government has ever been perfect, and I don't think Obama was perfect, and I don't think Biden was perfect, and I don't think Clinton was perfect. But it's also possible for all of that to be true and for Donald Trump to still be worse. Like, it's not like all or nothing.
But the thing about it is none of those people are in power now. Who is in power is Trump. And that's who we need to stay focused on. Like, all this other shit doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. Biden's going to be dead soon. Like, these people are out of essentially out of our lives. They're not running the country. We need to focus on who is.
So Bees here says, what is the actual job of ICE? The actual job of ICE, let's look this up. I mean, I can give you my answer, but
changed since the regime started.
It's actually there. I think they have two primary functions.
Okay.
I mean, legislatively.
As of right now, their function is Gestapo. They're kidnapping people.
Their statutory mandate is U.S. Immigration and ICE and Customs Enforcement is responsible for enforcing federal immigration and custom laws within the interior of the United States. It was created in 2003 under the Department of Homeland Security, combining functions from the former INS and U.S. Customs Service, two main operational divisions: Homeland Security investigations, criminal investigations into human trafficking, drug smuggling, transitional gangs, child exploitation, etc. This is the largest investigative arm of DHS, and enforcement and removal operations like deportations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's mostly like just investigating, broadly speaking. It's investigating human trafficking and deportations.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer to the question. So B says, asked that question several times. I don't know how many. I mean, of course, you'd like to know what. Is it okay to ignore if we all know the reason they're protesting ICE now instead of when Obama was mass deporting is because they knew they can't win an election without them? I don't think that
you can come in.
These things are equivalent.
Other stuff is just
Joe Biden didn't have like gaggles of ICE agents running around threatening people, grabbing random civilians, including American citizens, throwing them in vans and disappearing them. No, it's not that. I think there's this false idea that Democrats are against deporting illegal immigrants.
We're not.
There's no. I don't recall any ads from any Democrats that are like pro illegal immigrant. Like that's not a thing.
Pro-human rights.
What I do recall is things like due process. Barack Obama didn't deny people due process. He didn't have. I've seen so many videos of since this shooting happened in Minnesota. I have seen numerous videos. I almost thought about doing the entire show just of showing these videos of ICE agents threatening people with, did you see what happened a couple of days ago? Like person after person, they're threatening citizens. They're beating up citizens. There was this Hispanic kid that they beat the crap out of in a Target. That was an American citizen.
And then dropped them off at a Walmart bleeding and suffering.
So Obama wasn't doing those things, and those are the things that we are protesting. We aren't protesting the ICE agents doing their jobs. We're protesting ICE agents violating civil rights.
I wouldn't want them to treat you this way.
Mall cops have more formal training.
I wouldn't want that for you at all.
And
I would fight this hard for you too.
And I keep, I was thinking about this, that remember when the guy punched the Nazi like a few years ago, like in Trump's first term, and all these Trump supporters were like, I don't have to agree with what you say to defend your right to say it, right? And now all these same people are, well, if she hadn't been saying it, then we wouldn't have had to kill her. What happened to defending your rights? What happened to defending the rights of the people to say things you disagree with? Why aren't you standing up for their rights now? It makes me think that you were really saying that you actually agree with the Nazi. When you're not willing to to denounce what he's saying, but you're going to defend his right to say it. But then you're going to defend the rights of the government to like literally shoot people for saying something you disagree with. Cognitive, congestive heart failure and a mortgage default have left me living in a van now with no medical care. I've never been to it. Oh man, that sucks, Rodney.
I'm so sorry, Rodney. See, it's stories like yours that just absolute drive me on this, because it's really happening and people don't believe that this is happening because
So
it doesn't
yeah.
touch them.
What does being gender polite mean? Does that just mean being a polite person and just referring to somebody as who they identify as? Like, I don't understand that. Like, everything has got to become like, oh yeah, and like, let's attack trans people because that's the only thing we can talk about. What is the actual job of ICE? I don't. I'm okay. First of all, I think I'm way behind. I'm like 15 minutes behind. I don't think these two have.
Again, you all keep bringing up Obama. He's not president anymore. That's not what this is about. We are in the current time. You know, like, get out of the past.
Under President Barack Obama's administration, immigrant families and unaccompanied minors.
What is your arrangement syndrome that you can't like leave it alone and move on?
Okay. Yeah. Let's put it this way. Let's just change a couple of words. Yes. Under law, immigrant families and unaccompanied minors, including children who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border, were held temporarily in detention centers. Barack Obama was just following the law. That nobody's complaining about temporary detention centers.
We are complaining about the concentration camps.
But this is when somebody crossed the border, especially if it was an unaccompanied minor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say at the time there was what was the Gonzalez or something? Anyway, there was an agreement, because what happened before is
Emilio Gonzalez.
Yeah, I want to say, was it the Gonzalez agreement?
I think so.
It is so unaccompanied minors were crossing the border because, like, in under Bush, actually, they had made this thing that if you were an unaccompanied minor, you could seek asylum.
Now they can,
and that was because of like human trafficking and stuff. And so it was just, you could automatically seek asylum if you were an unaccompanied minor. So then what happened is they got wind of this. And so they just started sending their kids up unaccompanied so that their kids could have a better future. And then they would have like relatives up here or something. And then they would either find sponsors or something. And they had like 3 days to do it under this Gonzalez agreement. And what happened is they started coming over so fast they couldn't actually facilitate the transfer fast enough. And so they had to build these temporary facilities. And they were designed so that they could fit large amounts of people in there because they had to. But they were in Texas. And because Texas is really hot, they couldn't like build individual rooms and stuff. So they built them with these chain link fences that looked like cages.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes they would have to stay over in that time. The chain link fences for walls allowed for easier ventilation, and they were like temporary facilities. Okay, and then so they would be in there for like sometimes like they'd go over like a day or two before they could get their final, like to get to their sponsor. And there was a lot of criticism and pushback about that, and people would talk about them being cages, which they weren't really intended to be cages. They were tended to be ventilated. And then what happened is under Trump, when they started doing child separations where they weren't coming over unaccompanied and they were being deliberately separated from their parents, and they started putting them in these in the same place.
Hi, buddy.
Some people on the left started using the pictures from Obama to make it look like Trump was holding them in cages. And they were saying Trump is holding people in cages. And then that got fairly smacked down as being what happened under Obama. But Trump was still doing that. It was just the pictures they were using were the wrong pictures. And what Trump was doing was far worse because he was doing it and keeping them there. Oh, when Obama did it, he was just trying to follow the law. And he was just trying to, get them through as fast as possible, but they were coming in too fast. What Trump was doing was in excess of the law. There's a book by Jacob Soboroff on this whole thing. I can't remember the name of it, but look it up. It's actually a really compelling book, and it has criticism of both Obama and Trump in terms of this. But let's not conflate unaccompanied minors with child separations. And neither one of those things with things like Alligator Alcatraz.
That has actual people missing.
Yeah, that like has people disappear.
100.
Yeah, and I always say this: if you don't defend everyone's rights, you can't defend anyone's rights. Like if people have a right to disagree with me, and that's why even on here I will put up people's comments who disagree with me. I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with me. If I ever lived in a country where nobody disagreed with me, I would get the hell out of that country. Because that would mean something is seriously wrong with the country.
Well,
the argument.
I was going to say, they wanted the source on the immigration stuff. So I was posting a source, a fact check. I sent it to you in the private, but I can't seem to post it on the actual chat. So just letting you know.
Oh, let's see if I can.
Okay.
Sometimes I can. Have you tried posting it from here?
Yeah, I posted it from, I was successful on YouTube to put it up there. I put the Snopes article.
So, is the argument that people in the U.S. illegally do not have a right to due process? People in the U.S. have a right to due process, and I think there's a lot of confusion over that, and some of that is deliberate from the spinners on the right. Okay, so due process actually means process which is due. Like everyone is entitled to some kind of legal process. Well, almost, and it's kind of changed. Now, if you are here in the country for less than 2 years, you can request asylum if you have a credible fear of being returned to your country. If you don't, then that's the process that you're due, so to speak. If you're here more than 2 years, you have a right to go to an immigration court and be heard. It's not due process like a criminal trial. It's the specific process when, if you are here illegally, you still have that right to that process. It's not the same process as a criminal trial. It doesn't mean that you get to go and have a trial before a jury of your peers. The process is different, but it's still due. And I have some whiteboard videos that I did about a year ago on this that go into the court history of this. But it started back, I want to say like 1880s or something. There was a guy that had a laundromat, and they tried to make it illegal for Chinese. It was in San Francisco, and they tried to make it illegal for Chinese people to own laundromats. And so then he sued, and that was like after the law had passed about, Chinese people weren't here legally. And so they said, you're an illegal alien, and so you can't sue. And then the Supreme Court heard it, and they upheld that even if you're not a legal immigrant, then you can still sue. You still are entitled to rights. There was another case where they tried to throw a Chinese woman out of the country, and they decided that she still had rights to be heard by a court. And then there was another case where it was all these early ones were Chinese because the initial immigration laws were just against Chinese people. Another one where they tried to send a guy to prison, and he sued and won because he never got a trial, and they were trying to say, no, you're not allowed a criminal trial because you're not an American citizen, and those rights only apply to citizens. So basically, whether you're here or not, you're allowed rights, but what those rights are, you're allowed rights to go through a process, but what that process is can change from person to person. I hope that addresses your concern. How do you know what that? I venture to say that God is a liberal. I don't think he's a Democrat. I do say this. I like to, if you want to annoy Republicans, tell them that Jesus rode a donkey, but he never rode an elephant. I don't know who's trying to censor people online. This is nonsense.
There's lots of the nonsense. I'm kind of ignoring some of. That's why I haven't commented much, because it's just a lot of bot patrols.
In what way are Democrats more generous than Republicans? Unlike Republicans, Democrats are not only generous with their own money, but also with. What does that even mean? You say a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense, Fafo. Yeah, it's you again. Under Obama, blah blah. So what? Under President James Buchanan, people could. I don't know what that means, Rodney.
It's 2026.
Like somebody else had asked about
Obama. Trump. That is the person controlling our future that we need to focus on.
No, I think he's talking about, because I had brought up Obama, but I was answering a question about Obama. Okay. And I don't know if he was talking to me or to the other person. Ronnie's kind of seems like Ronnie is not a MAGA troll or a bot. He seems like a sincere person. Oh, so you don't support? Everyone knows that this is untrue. We have their seats. I see you. Very supportive of a pedophile, though. Okay. God wouldn't care, but he sees the buffoonery coming from the left, and God does. Like, yeah, they're not invited here.
I actually don't care what somebody else's imaginary friend believes, so.
So do you have anything substantive to say? Magus, like, do you seriously, I'll downplaying it. I don't know what I'm downplaying like crazy. Double standards. No, different things. There's like pointing out a false equivalence is not a double standard. Like holding holding unaccompanied minors for a few days is not at all the same thing as deporting people to El Salvador prisons without any kind of process. Like, no, those are different things. DHS training, don't walk in front of a vehicle too. Who was even ever killed by a vehicle? Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with Grok about this today.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was realistic to think that he could have been killed. And there are apparently very rare circumstances where people are killed by walking in front of a vehicle going really slowly. But most of the time those are like really elderly people or toddlers and babies. Like not toddlers and babies, just toddlers. Like people that are extremely fragile can get like knocked over and killed. Yeah. But this guy was not even, he was hit so hard he wasn't limping afterwards.
She
Like,
was,
if he
he
was
was
it.
running afterwards, and
Yeah.
she even smiled at him. She smiled at him. So if he was in fear for his life because she was smiling at him and saying, "Hey, I'm not mad at you," that says to me he is too emotional to have a weapon.
Okay, Snopes is a reliable source. You guys just don't like. Do you realize that when like Snopes has one of these articles, that they're not. It's not Snopes is not the source. You have to look at the actual article, and you have to read the actual article. Hang on, let me point this out, since some people are not capable of thinking with their own brain. All right, so this is, did Obama admin build cages that house migrant children at the U.S. border? So I'm just getting true. The Obama administration built cages that hold many immigrant children at the U.S. border. So first of all, it's rated true. As the but
I would have appreciated that.
so during the previous summer, the Trump administration's zero tolerance policy. So if you click here, this is what we call a link. Okay, and so if you click that link and you open it up here, and then you can see this, and you got to show you're not a robot, and then see this actually takes you to the source, the actual original source. Okay, so it's not about what Snopes said. Snopes always points you to the source, the original source. So if you're not criticizing what Snopes says, this is what the actual attorney general, what Trump's attorney general said. Okay, so if you look at the whole Snopes article and you go through it, I won't, distract through the whole thing with that. That's what you need to understand about Snopes. Snopes is always points you to the original source. So just consulting Snopes doesn't mean you're right.
No, and it even said, like, that was the other piece of it that I thought that they would have appreciated by Snopes saying, well, actually, technically, yeah.
And that's what I was saying, right? Like that.
Right.
Yes.
That I was like, hey.
MAGA, Obama built those facilities. He did not build them as a permanent cage, though. Actually, I think this article is where I read and looked at originally, like back in 2018. And I was like, oh, okay. So these and those, I think it talks about those pictures actually were under Obama that people were sharing against Trump. And so I was like actually saying, no, Trump didn't, those weren't under Trump, but there were still people being detained under Trump. All persons subject to U.S. law are granted due process. The only ones who are not are subject to U.S. laws are those with yeah. And I think that's one of the things that they want to say, that if you're here illegally, you're not subject to U.S. law. But that's kind of stupid, because if you're not subject to U.S. law, how can you be here illegally? Like, the fact that you're here illegally means you're subject to U.S. law.
And the Constitution covers all people here, not just citizens. When it's talking about basic human rights.
Are you going to the dermatologist tomorrow, Kitty? Rainbow Kitty, RK. Congrats. If you give 3 liberals a light bulb, what would happen? The first one would say it's causing global warming. The second would say it's racist.
Well, you guys are so sensitive, such snowflakes. Like, seriously, this is the stuff that you're like getting all honky about, as opposed to like actual basic structured facts. Like, seriously.
I'm just saying, FAFO.
I graduated middle school. Like,
I just want to point this out.
Okay.
If you give 3 liberals a light bulb, what would happen? The first one would say it's causing global warming. The second one would say it's racist. Fafo apparently can't count to 3, and he's insulting our intelligence.
That's okay. That's because he wants to punch up because he's feeling insecure.
Oh, wait, here he says the third one say it's not a light bulb unless Obama says there's a light. Okay, so he can count to 3. It's not a very good joke.
Why do they think we're in sort of an Obama cult? Like
because they're in a Trump cult.
I've never called him my dad.
This is a guy that's sitting there defending a guy
Who's a
that says he
pedophile?
runs Venezuela. He is, Trump said he's president of Venezuela now.
He literally posted it on Truth
And
Social.
somehow, and he's got no criticism of Trump. Okay. Way back when I commented about due process, I had a point but forgot it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Rodney.
Back up and we'll talk about it again, Ronnie.
No, not about you, Kelly. I was talking about Obama haters.
Pedophiles are
That's what I thought. Okay.
The Epstein files is my source. I'm currently in a massive project with them. I have actually met with survivors. Yes, Trump is a pedophile. I believe survivors.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't even care about Trump when it comes to the Epstein files, whether it's him or not. I think I care about the victims, and every single person who violated those victims should go to jail, period. And I don't see how anybody would ever take like the other side of that issue. And so we need to see who those violators were, and we need to prosecute them. If it's Trump, send him to jail. If it's not Trump, don't send him to jail. If it's Clinton, send him to jail. If it's not Clinton, send him to jail. But only 1%, Kitty, your work has not started yet. I'm sorry to tell you.
Already confidently and confident enough, let him sue me. Trump is a pedophile. Let him sue me. I am excited about discovery. That's how
that would be interesting.
And that's how confident I am in his pedophilia.
She backed up and put him. No, he walked in front of the car himself. I mean, he recorded himself walking in front of the car. And no, yeah, I even asked this. I asked this on, and I've got more followers on Blue Sky and Twitter. I've got like 175,000 on Blue Sky and 75,000 on Twitter, and a lot more than I have here. And so I asked, if you're an attorney, would you be able to prosecute this person? And I also asked it on thread. I've got a number of responses from another number of attorneys who are both prosecutors and defense attorneys. And every single one of them were saying there is no way, like a good attorney wouldn't even take this case. There's no way it would ever get past a grand jury, much less you'd render a verdict in a criminal court. I have heard and been told by defense attorneys they wouldn't want to take this case. Some have said they might be able to defend the first shot, but the second and third, there's no way. They have universally said they would not want him as a client. And I've done the search on the legal history, and there are cases where all three shots, where somebody, Andrew something or other, I can't think of his name. Anyway, I've got a video on it. It's fired. It was the exact same kind of thing. Guy started off in reverse, and he fired 6 shots from the side of the car. And after he had stepped out of the way of the vehicle. And it was going less than 5 miles per hour. Almost identical to this situation. That person is doing 26 years. The person who fired the gun. There's something called officer created jeopardy, where if the police officer creates the dangerous situation by stepping in front of the car, the police officer can't use lethal force at that point. And secondly, their first obligation is to try to not kill anybody, to step out of the vehicle or step away from the vehicle. And that's Department of Homeland Security policy. And that policy was literally set back in 2013 because there was a history of like 12 different cases where officers had stepped in front of the car and then used that as justification for killing the person trying to drive off. And it was ICE officers. So there was this history of it, and they did an investigation of it. They tried to bury the investigation. And then once it came out, the civil, who are the people that are always suing for civil rights, Kitty? ACLU. Yeah. So the ACLU filed a Freedom of Information Act to finally get that report released. and changed. And then after that happened, after she won, and by the way, Obama was president, so criticism of Obama. Once that report was released, DHS changed its policy to you cannot move in front of the car. That is he violated DHS policy. He violated the law. He created the jeopardy, and then he killed a woman. So no. And her wife saying "drive, baby" is not illegal. Rodney's okay.
Yeah.
Ronnie's good dude. Yeah, move the bleep on except when we bring up January 6th. Remember no, I don't remember things that never happened. What I do remember is this crazy woman breaking a window, trying to crawl through it as the apex of the spear of 2,000 people screaming hang Mike Pence, while Mike Pence was a few feet away, and then getting shot as she was trying to kill the vice president. And then 5 years of people talking about how they killed an innocent woman.
She was a domestic terrorist. Literally.
She literally said that her goal was to prevent the lawful counting of votes so that Joe Biden could be president. No, the officer literally walked in front of there's no point in debating reality. The video literally shows him walking around the whole car. Don't lie, Vincent. I believe this was the same officer from 6 months ago. This sounds like, yeah, he and the 6 months prior, and this is like, they use this as a defense. Instead of like, okay, what happened before is he broke through a back window, reached in, and he was trying to, I don't know, stop the car with his superhuman powers or something. And then the driver took off and he got dragged for like 10 or 20 feet, depending on what, you read. He got some lacerations and he needed some stitches because he was too stupid to know he couldn't stop a car with the power of his right arm. And so they took this man that was this stupid and apparently so traumatized that he had to shoot a woman in the head 3 times on instead of just like stepping out of the way. And again, he watched her steering the wheel out of his way. We know this. We know that he watched it. We know he saw her doing this because he filmed it. And he was filming it.
We have his film.
The first time. No, that was a different officer, Vincent. That was a separate officer. And by the way, they didn't have the right to open her vehicle. Why didn't Biden release them then? There wasn't a law passed that Biden had to, because there was an appeal still going on with the Maxwell case, and he couldn't. And also, Biden never made any comments at all about them. The idea is that Biden, like the problem with this question is that Biden ever considered releasing them and then said no. Like there was a conscious decision to not release them. He just didn't think about them. Like there was never a discussion about it. And should he have had that decision? Should somebody have said, hey, maybe we should release the Epstein files? I don't know. But I do feel like if you're going back and you're looking at the case from the victim side, I think that there was a pattern from starting with when Bill Clinton was president to when George Bush was president, to when Barack Obama was president, to when Donald Trump was president the first time, to when Joe Biden was president, to now with Trump president again. There has been a consistent silencing of the victims and not listening to the victims. So from that side, I think Joe Biden should have released everything that should have been released, but nobody was asking him to. And there was no law asking him to. So it's not quite the same thing. And also Joe Biden didn't run on releasing them. Yeah, I don't know what that makes go away. Can Stacey Plaskett be wrong? And John, does Stacey Plaskett texting Epstein, does that make it okay for Donald Trump to not follow the law, or for Pam Bondi to not follow the law? What is the point of that? Oh, all right, we're still. No, she backed up to get to move around him, Vincent, and he was already in front of the vehicle. We're not going to argue that because it's just, there's no point in it. I'm not going to debate objective reality with anybody. I'm going to the dermatologist to get care of my cystic acne. I'm going to be so happy with when my chest won't burst and bleed like a blood-filled ring of fire. Out. Ooh. That sounds painful. I live with 2 men and I have sons. I love men. I do not like Trump and he is a pedophile fascist. Yeah, whatever, Vincent. I mean, at worst, she was trying to block traffic badly. I mean, the fact that she was waving cars past her and they were driving past her, including Jonathan Ross. That's the thing I think. Like, I think people just skip over certain things. I'm right. I'm not wrong, right? Right, Kitty? Like, Jonathan Ross drove past her. And if he drove past her, she wasn't blocking traffic. Like, if people could go past her, then traffic wasn't being blocked. I mean, you could say that, they might have had to take turns, but there was didn't impede any ICE investigation. No illegal immigrants got away because she was parked there. There was no sting operation happening. There's so much justification, like, to make her into some kind of villain.
How does it justify murder? Like, it's a traffic situation. Why is murder acceptable? Like, literally, think about all the traffic laws you break every day. Everybody does. Do you think you should be shot on the corner just because?
Do you know what we would be saying about this whole thing if he had just driven past her and kept going?
We wouldn't be talking about it.
Not a damn thing, because we wouldn't even know about it.
Uh-huh.
Like, it was just a non-thing. She would have probably just pulled out and driven away. Oh, what? Somebody's saying the first shot was accidental? Well, that's a weird one. I haven't seen that one.
That makes it so much better.
That's like makes it the second and third were on purpose. Like, the second and third were the ones where there's not even any remote sense that his life was in danger.
And if it was accidental, he doesn't need to have a gun.
The officer was not, anyway. Just we're Of course she wasn't in fear for her life. She didn't think he was going to pull out his gun and shoot her.
Because that's normally not.
I mean, like, the fact that she was smiling and then, like, I mean, this is one of the saddest things to me is the last words she said were,
I'm not mad at you, bro.
I'm not mad at you, bro. And the last words she heard were, you're bleeping bleep. Or you bleeping bleep, right? Like, I can't say the words because it's monetized. Just think about that. The last words she said were, I'm not mad at you, bro, to the man that killed her. And the last words she heard were, you bleeping bleep, from the man that killed her.
I got to tell you, that's the most common thing said to me on the internet. At least on X and most social media sites by the right wing. That's that term. We have, as women, we have heard that our whole lives. Anytime we've turned a man down for sex or refused a date or hurt your ego in some way, it's the same term we all hear.
I wonder if that's why so many MAGAs are so uninformed, because they can't learn from women. A lot of stuff I've learned from women, including my mom. Justifiable homicide of vehicles. Yeah, she wasn't trying to kill him. I mean, she wasn't. That's just plainly obvious. And you know who else knew she wasn't trying to kill him? The other officers that were there. And do you know how you know that the other officers who were there weren't trying to kill him? Because none of them drew their guns. The only one that drew his gun was him. And he started to reach for his gun while she was still in reverse. You can see still shots of the backup lights being on.
Do we need
while
the video?
His hand is moving towards his gun. So he started to reach for his gun when she started going backwards. His whole intention was to shoot her to keep her from leaving. It was not self-defense. And again, it's not justifiable homicide. It's not authorized use of lethal force if it's officer-induced jeopardy. You can't put yourself in a dangerous situation and then murder people because you were in a dangerous situation. It's your job as the police officer to avoid the dangerous situation in the first place. He was standing in front of the car because he chose to. When she backed up, she was backing up away from him. He started off more in the center of the front, and by the time she was done backing up, he was at the left front corner. When she started turning away and she steered her car to the right, remember that? And she started to pull out. She was pulling away from him, not towards him. I don't know what your weirdness is talking about there, but Vincent, please. Are you a bot? Like, are you a real person or are you a bot? I wish there was a way to tell something. Oh, and man. Is there like medication that helps with the pain, or after he shot her 3 times? And she was still alive. I mean, you just think about it. That's the last thing she heard before she died. After she said, I'm not mad at you, bro. The last word she said and the last word she heard. It's just, to me, it's just sad. And it's so sad that people defend it. It's caustic. That's it's do you know what the word synecdoche means? Not like the New York. What's that?
That's a good word.
It means like symbol becomes the whole. Like it's where, anyway, like this, to me, it's a synecdoche of the entire situation in America, where there is this really tragic thing that becomes so politicized that people just set aside their humanity and can't recognize just the rightness from the wrongness anymore. And it just becomes, she was trying to kill him. She was not trying to kill him. I'm sorry. There is just no way I can watch that video and see a woman trying to kill that man. All I see is just, I see this so many times. And where you just have a man outraged that a woman is not doing what she is told to do. And I keep thinking about
That's
like,
exactly it.
this is the same anger that you see on display when you see why didn't you have my dinner ready on time? She made me do it. She shouldn't have been wearing that skirt.
I bought her dinner. She wouldn't blow me.
It was just anger. And it was anger, like just vile anger that came out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That was not, oh my God, what have I done? That was bleep, bleep, bleep.
He did exactly what he wanted.
It was vindictive. That's the word I'm looking for. It wasn't an act of self-defense. It was an act of revenge.
Mm-hmm.
She, like saying, how do you know this? Was it what somebody on Twitter told you that? Like, I don't know where some of this stuff comes from. But even if it were true, which it's not, but whether it's true or not is irrelevant because he doesn't know that. And that's not a thing to murder somebody over. You've got to find a way to make it his fault. He beat his wife. He was arrested for domestic abuse. I don't know if she was ever arrested for domestic abuse, but I know that he was. And I'm not surprised. Okay, then. Anything on her being in another state, or I don't know what you mean she was in another state. He was where she lived.
She was from Colorado. They had moved over to Minnesota.
Oh, is that what he's talking about?
Yeah.
She lived in Minnesota, dude.
She lived close to the crime scene.
Go if this is what you believe. Is there some way we could find out where the license plate was, where the car, what state the car was registered in? Is there any videotape of the license plate?
Let me go see if I can find it. Hold on, I'll go hunt. Give me a moment.
Like the one.
Hold on, I'll pull up some of the video.
Got it.
That blood.
Anyway, she was trying to kill him. Yeah, if you type it all in caps, it becomes true magically. I mean, that she didn't even knock him down kind of negates that she was trying to murder him.
He was running afterwards to escape. So, like,
if she was trying to murder him, she was really, really bad at it. Okay. So somebody wants us.
There we go.
So I just cannot believe the pieces of poop that are in your chat. MAGA has really done a number on the psyche of our country.
Right.
She's part of the Democrats. This is another thing that MAGAs do is they just if you're MAGA, you don't if you're not MAGA, you're a Democrat, and if you're a Democrat, you deserve to die.
From the video, it looks like it's Minnesota plates.
So yeah, I mean, I knew that was. Thank you for confirming that, but that was like, I mean, her car was in Minnesota. She had stuffies and her dog. Does he think that she drove her dog from Colorado to go to protests or something? Like the thinking skills of a MAGA are like right along those of a very slow thinking turtle. Like they cannot, like the whole AI, the image or the video film of her driving around blaring her horn, as though like, what was there, some kind of helicopter following her around? Where did this footage come from? And why were they filming specifically her? Like, was there a drone cam dedicated to every resistor?
Lately, it sure feels like it.
Yeah, nowadays you never know.
Mm-hmm.
My sergeant got beat by an inmate in the mess hall in 2009. He carried a stick for the next year with the lanyard wrapped around his wrist twice. PTSD. Same for that agent. Shouldn't have been there. Yeah. If he was truly traumatized by that previous encounter, he should not have been there. Oh, for bleep's sake, stop all this bleep. You big girls blouse. Oh, men are bad. No.
There's no such thing as paid protesters. I don't know. I don't know where they're so nuts, and it's just projecting because they
I
hire
just wish there were, because I would love to, like,
I would
I
love
feel like
to.
I'm owed a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how come
No
all these other people get paid? They changed. No, she said, come back tomorrow. It'll be the same plate.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, you're the only one in the history or that has ever watched this video and not seen him walk in front of her. I mean, I'm not just going to debate that reality with you.
Laura Ingram protest admits it right there on YouTube. Yeah, I'm sure 3% of the population are lying morons who want to just be famous and get on whatever they can. But the reality of it is I've worked and spoken with more than 20 or 30,000 protesters in the last year, and I'm telling you, no one is getting paid. So you can believe what you want, because it sounds like it sounds like there's projecting going on, like maybe you're a paid troll.
So I asked Claude,
To me,
is there any evidence that Renee Good beat her kids?
mm-hmm.
It says, no, there is zero evidence of this. Multiple fact checkers and news organizations have investigated these claims extensively and found them to be completely unsubstantiated disinformation. What actually happened? Social media posts claimed Renee Good's partner, Becca Good, was arrested for burning children with cigarettes.
Oh,
These
Lord.
posts exploded after Renee was killed by ICE on January 7th, 2026. Fact checkers found no arrest records, no court filings, no police reports, no child welfare agency confirmation. News outlets conducting exhaustive public record searches found nothing. The actual custody situation: Renee had 3 children, ages 15, 12, and 6. The 2 older children lived with their biological father from her first marriage, routine custody arrangements. The youngest lived with Renee and her wife, Rebecca. His father passed away 2 years ago. There's no evidence she lost custody of any children due to abuse. Why this matters: this is a textbook disinformation campaign. After her killing sparked outrage and protests, partisan actors circulated these false abuse allegations to discredit the victim, justify the shooting, and undermine the public sympathy. The claims cite anonymous sources or family claims, but provide zero documentation. Every credible outlet that investigated labeled these claims false. So, short answer is stop lying.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, if you didn't know already,
Now you know.
you do now.
Garbage.
So if you're an honest person and a real person and not a troll or a Russian bot, you won't say that anymore.
And you who claim that these aren't facts, please post your source. Post it. Post the source. Show us where you get your facts from. because we would love to see your receipts. You know, we would love to see your receipts. Additionally, to the person who referred to Renee as a floozy because she was married 3 times, I want to remind you that your daddy was married 3 times, had affairs on all 3 of them. In fact, got in trouble for trying to pay one of them off because he had sex with one of these women while she was at home just having given birth to a child. And he's a pedophile. So I'm not sure that you really can compare it. Or are you saying that it's okay for a man to have sex with lots of people and cheat, but for a woman not to get a divorce? Like, help me understand where your boundaries are there. Her car is, I just pulled the VIN, and her car is registered to Kansas City, Missouri. Grok
She had a Missouri license plate, not Mississippi.
I'm sorry, Missouri.
A Missouri license plate, a Kansas City soccer sticker on the back windshield registration. Right. Renee Good had lived in Kansas City, specifically the Waldo neighborhood, with her partner before moving to Minneapolis approximately 7 to 8 months prior to the shooting. The vehicle was still registered in Missouri. The only legal issue this created was that Minnesota requires a new resident to register out-of-state vehicles within 60 days of establishing residency. So she was living in Minnesota, but she was late registering her vehicle. I wasn't even aware of that when I said, what did the plate say? I just knew she lived in Minnesota when I was assuming she'd have a plate. So yes, she had a Missouri license plate, as Brett says.
And she, again, I've tried. Grok even says that the claims of the abuse are unsubstantiated and have come from some tweet. Even Grok says it. Which is the, I'm sorry, that is the unwoke AI. So even your unwoke AI says it.
Drive Baby Drive, she should be. So saying Drive Baby Drive is murder?
So let me ask something real quick, if this is okay, Kelly.
Yeah.
So I've got documentation of over 20 different incidences of ICE actually hitting people with vehicles.
Uh-huh.
So should all of them be shot now?
Depends where all of those people, ICE agents, standing in front of the car.
No, they were driving the car.
The ICE agents hit people?
The ICE agents are hitting people.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Of ICE.
Are they using their car as a weapon?
Different people with vehicles. So I'm asking, does that mean that they should be shot?
Okay. I'm just going to get rid of Vincent here.
Thank you.
He's clearly not even trying to.
He doesn't even want to have a conversation. He's just
being a dick.
A paid troll.
He's a troll at this point. So he's gone. I'm willing to engage with honest debate, but not trolling. Yeah, and like I said before, I'm willing to listen and look things up, and if I'm proven wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But she didn't come from Missouri for that protest, so can you also admit you're wrong? Like I looked it up, I was like, okay, she's from Missouri, or the plates are from Missouri, and then I also found out that she had been moved there 7 or 8 months ago. Mm-hmm. So are you suggesting that 7 or 8 months ago she was planning on, she moved here to participate in protests, that she came here? Was she living with her kid and her wife and her dog in that car for those entire 7 or 8 months? Did they have a residential address in Minnesota?
I have it.
So they did have a residential address.
Yeah, I have it. because
Yeah,
I ran.
we don't need a dox her partner.
Not going. Nope.
So,
But I have.
but she actually lived in Minnesota, as would be indicated by the fact that she had stuffies in the glove compartment and the dog in the back seat.
Well, and she dropped her kids from school. She had dropped.
Oh yeah, and her kid had a school there.
So she had to live in the neighborhood.
And that's what and Becca said that they were helping out their neighbors. Right? So that would also indicate that she's in the neighborhood. And as Rodney points out, even if Miss Good drove from out of state for the protest, the same day of the shooting is still murder, in my opinion. And yeah, that's right. Like driving to another, you know who drove to another state and actually shot somebody? I'll give you 3 guesses. His name is Kyle Rittenhouse.
I was just thinking that, but I was like, oh, Kyle
Rittenhouse went to a different state and shot 2 people. He didn't murder anybody. But she drives to another state and tries to drive, and she's a murderer. Huh.
Again, what about the ICE agents that are hitting people with their cars? Should they be shot?
James is new, and he's been sticking around a little bit today. So welcome to the show, James. Nice to have another friendly voice. You're right. We get a lot of the MAGA fools that just drive most of the conversation, unfortunately. Always happy to have an ally around here. Yeah, stop deporting the Democrats. Only hope. In the entire history, let me address this. There is a database by the Federalists. Is it one of those right-wing people that's always like the Federalist Society or one of those things? Mm-hmm. And it's a database of every single case of voting fraud since 1980. And they have like every for not just like federal elections or presidential elections. They include primaries. They include mayor elections, local elections, every single election since 1980. So you're talking like billions of votes. Out of those billions of votes, guess how many cases of people who are non-citizens of voting? I think it's 29 since 1980 cases of non-citizens voting. And of those, not one of them would be invalidated by the voter ID laws. So I don't think there is this massive democratic scheme. And this is, by the way, a website and a study that was done to prove that elections were being stolen by illegal immigrants. The whole point was that Democrats were stealing elections. And overall, they could only find like 2,000 cases of voter fraud at all. And only some of those were in-person voter fraud. A lot of them, the ones that did exist, some were Democrats, some were Republicans, and they were mostly just people that were trying to stuff the ballot box. And they were like local elections. They did not find a single case of in-person voter fraud that affected a single election of any kind. It's like this. There were cases of ballot stuffing that changed the winner, and it kind of went both ways. And it was mostly in local elections where it's like, only like 200 people were voting. Poor dog. I think we can all agree that we're happy the dog survived, but the guy nearly killed the dog too. He also could have killed the partner. But yes, the dog is okay and with Becca. According to reports, the dog made it out okay. Otherwise, I'd send John Wick after him. How did they get a ballot? Yeah, I mean, it's when you talk about what is needed, this is one of the things to like actually carry out a case of voter fraud. There's so many things that just don't make sense that would have to be uh, done. Like you need to get somebody's social security number. B, you need to find out where they live and steal the ballot from the mailbox. C, you need to know that they're not going to vote. In California, it's not that easy to get a voting ballot. It's like getting a driver's license. And if you're here illegally, you're not trying to draw attention to yourself. And there's such high risk and low reward. Like there's very little chance your vote is going to change who won the election. And you have to look at it from an individual level, not from the mass level. Number two, like I thought all the Hispanics love Trump now. Why wouldn't the Hispanics be voting for Trump? Why wouldn't the illegals, I use that word, ironically, why wouldn't they vote for Trump since they love Trump so much? Where do they get their ballots? It's not like high school and they have a big role. Yeah. They have to be sent them, right? Like in California, they have to be sent the ballots, which means they have to have an address on file, which means they have to have registered, which means they have to have showed their citizenship papers when they registered. Yeah, I figured that out. So, all right. Now let's go back to the see if we can get back into his Trump and Tyrant. For extortion, silencing media critics. This is another thing that he's a tyrant. Trying to get back to the topic at hand. He tries to silence his media critics. Media companies need FCC approval for billion-dollar mergers. Trump sues or threatens networks, hosts who criticize him. FCC Chairman Brennan Carr delays approval or opens investigations. Companies pay Trump and silence critics. FCC approves mergers. So they've had these cases where there's been a merger between a network or networks, right, and another company or another network, and then the FCC says we're going to take away your license, or they say we're not going to approve this merger unless you fire Stephen Colbert. And so then they fire Stephen Colbert, and then they approve the merger. Donald Trump is having people fired for criticizing him. That's tyranny. Is that tyranny? I mean, not just making these things up, right? That really happened. Where was the MAGA criticism from that? That's the kind. Can you imagine what would happen if Joe Biden tried to leverage the FCC to get?
Imagine if Obama tried to accept an airplane from Qatar.
Oh, that one's later. But I mean, imagine if Biden had tried to fire some like Tucker Carlson or something. I can't remember. Was Tucker Carlson? Did he get fired before or after? Who Jesse? What is now Jesse Toilet Waters? What if Biden had tried to get Jesse Waters fired? Do you think MAGA might have had something to say about that? If he had tried to take away Fox broadcasting license unless they fired Joe Biden or fired Jesse Waters?
They threw a fit when the Biden administration wanted social media to stop allowing misinformation about COVID to go around, when they were trying to save and protect people.
And then you get in the comments, oh, here we go with TDS again. Okay, what is TDS about? He tried to get people fired and used the FCC. Like, what is that? That's not like what. Acknowledging reality is deranged. Just dismissing reality is deranged. As Brett says, that's more like Trump devotion syndrome. White radical women are disgusting. I don't think you really have to worry about women at all being a part of your life. Imagine if people threw toddler tantrums and kicked and screamed like this every time their candidate lost. Oh, there's a bit of irony. I seem to remember a bunch of people literally throwing crap on the walls of the Capitol building because their candidate lost. They're like candy. How much money was Colbert losing? Who cares? I don't care about the whole thing. All I know is that Donald Trump said he wanted Colbert fired, and then he said that unless he got fired, this merger wasn't going to happen. And then they fired him, and then the merger happened. I don't care. If they had just fired him based on the ratings without Trump getting involved, that would be one thing. But Trump interjecting himself to get somebody fired because they're criticizing him, I have an issue with that, and you should too. You got upset because Donald Trump got kicked off of Twitter just for trying to throw an insurrection party. And you threw a fit about that. That was a private company making a decision without the government forcing him to. And Donald Trump was president when he got kicked off Twitter, I should say. No, Trump's not my whole existence. I'm not the one that drives around with Trump painted on my car and on my forehead. Well, at least you're for, I don't know what all of that means, but I'm asking you because you thought it was good. You had to record it and put it on your channel. Oh, he's talking to. There's something I don't know about here. This, like I am not, like, I've never been involved in all of this, like social media stuff or, like YouTube live channeling, live streaming is like a totally new thing to me. Your face is getting a little red there. Oh, wow. I don't know what that means. Trump gave a concession speech. How was Kamala the night she lost? Oh, that's Trump gave a concession speech? No, he didn't. He still hasn't admitted he lost 2020. And Kamala gave a concession speech, and so did Hillary Clinton. You guys are. I wish I was getting paid. I want to get paid. By the way, if anybody wants to pay me, you can go ahead and hit that sticker button. Yeah. So, speaking of no kings, what about when they put Kamala as their front runner? I don't know why you're so worried about who the Democrats are running. FYI, Kelly does not pay me either. I'm also a volunteer. It's a good thing because I don't have any money to pay you with. Oh, again, I wish I did. I wish I could get like sponsored and make six figures, but I don't. These people who talk a lot of but they don't have enough nerve to put their real name and face out there. Tisk tisk. I'm dropping deuces, by the way, as I text this, thinking about all you dumb. Well, that shows your level of discourse and level of comprehension. All right, so now let's go back to, I am caught up there. So let's go back to this. So case number one, the Trump sued CBS for $16 million. Paramount needs FCC approval for an $8.4 million merger. Car delays while Trump negotiates. Paramount pays $16 million. Colbert calls it a big fat bribe. Days later, show canceled. Then FCC approves merger. And by the way, now they've installed a puppet as the director of CBS News. CBS case number two, ABC, Jimmy Kimmel. Trump sues ABC. Disney pays $16 million. Kimmel makes jokes about Kirk. Carr sickest conduct possible. Carr easy way or hard way. ABC suspends show indefinitely. Then there was a public outcry. And Disney had the ESPN NFL deal pending. ABC ended up bringing Kimmel back due to the public pressure.
So one of the ways we know what a troll is, just so you know, because I just saw this in the chat, is when they repeat the same talking point over. And it's kind of the typical, because we've already got trans for all in the room now. And when they start doing TDS, just get rid of them, because that's all they are. They're getting paid to do that piece. I gotta fix my screen. Just putting that out there.
Thank you, Brett. Transfer all. I don't even know what transfer all means. Do you think that there's like a bunch of people that like go around trying to force people to be trans or something? Yeah, I will say this. Just shut up about trans people. Like, if you don't want to be trans, don't be trans. Like, literally, nobody is trying to make you be trans. Just stop being an idiot. Okay, so next, the Venezuela war powers. When I've got this dashboard set up, I have a lot of material I want to get around to. It's just we can never get past this stupid Minnesota shooting thing. But I really want to talk about how the War Powers Act has been stretched and stretched and stretched ever since World War II. I've even got hopefully maybe I'll release this tonight, a ranking of all the presidents, all 15 presidents since FDR, and how much they have stretched the war powers. And so it's not something I strictly blame Trump for, but what he did with Venezuela is just completely another level. He went in. The military had a strike on Caracas around 2 a.m., captured the president and his wife, which I don't think he was legitimately elected, and I don't think that he was a good person. But this is still the president, at least according to them. He killed at least 40 to 80 people. Some say as much as 100. Oh, excuse me. 32 of them were Cubans, and there was no congressional authorization, no congressional notification. He says he has inherent constitutional authority. We are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe and proper judicious transaction. And this is just blatantly untrue. Article 2 does not give him the power to decide when to declare war. Article 1 gives Congress the power to decide when to declare war. Point blank. It literally says that. And I just want the Constitution, if you want it in simplified terms, the Constitution tells Congress they get to decide when we use the military, and the president the power to decide how we use the military. So Once war is declared, how that's executed and who goes where and all of that is on the president. The Congress can't tell the president how to use the military, but the president can't decide for himself when to use the military. And ever since World War II is the last time we declared war. And we actually we've declared war 11 times, but it's for 5 conflicts. And the last one was World War II. Korea, we never declared war. Vietnam, we never declared war. Iraq won. Well, Grenada, we didn't declare war. Panama, we didn't declare war. Panama, they sort of declared war on us, and it was kind of a fake declaration. Noriega basically got Congress to say we were in a state of war, because we kind of were, but then Panama killed an American Marine, and so then we used that as a pretext to go in there, but Congress didn't authorize it. We didn't declare war with the first Iraq war. We didn't declare war with the second Iraq war. We didn't declare war with Afghanistan. We didn't declare war with any of the states that Obama bombed. We didn't declare any of the war with any of the states that that Trump bombed. We didn't declare war with any of the countries that Biden bombed. But we didn't invade any of those countries and take over their government and decide we're running it now. We didn't even do that with Panama. We arrested Noriega and we took him, and all that. But we didn't say we're running Panama now. George H.W. Bush didn't say, I'm the president of Panama. Nobody has ever violated the powers this much. So let's go through some of this. We've got, buddy, remember that weird video on your channel? I need to deets why you would do that. I know. Okay, so this is something I don't know about. So boy, these chats got busy. Does the president actually have 60 days to use military force before asking for permission? No, that's not what the war. So you're talking about the War Powers Resolution. And the War Powers Resolution has been distorted. The reason we have the War Powers Resolution is because of Korea and Vietnam, where the president had used the military in conflicts for extended periods of time without ever getting congressional approval. And so it was a restriction, not a given permission. It was never intended to be a replacement for the Constitution, because that would actually require a constitutional amendment, right? To take away the power to declare war from the president or from the Congress would actually require an amendment. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as I'm aware, Article 1 has not been changed. The Congress still has the right to declare war. And so we had fought 2 pseudo wars in Korea and Vietnam without ever declaring war. And so then the War Powers Resolution was passed to say, okay, we understand there may be certain times where there is an emergency situation. So if that happens, you have to notify Congress what you're going to do, and then you have to get congressional approval within 60 days. But what's happened is it's been distorted into meaning, and even the media will report it like this, that the president can just go around and do whatever he wants as long as he tells Congress within 60 days. But that's not the intent of the legislation, and that's really not what the legislation actually says. It's only if there's like an actual emergency situation that it says, okay, in this situation, you can act, but you have to get congressional approval within 60 days. It's not like you have standing approval to do whatever you want as long as you notify Congress within 60 days. There's kind of a upside down thinking on that. There's a war on regular, hardworking people. I don't know what that means. Real retiring. Echo. I don't know what video. There must be a really bad video. They left. Did I miss something amazing? I just thought I would spend a minute looking at some of the most prolific trolls on here and their YouTube channels. He had a video of a dude going blank in his own mouth. Oh, gross. Okay. That's a mental image I didn't know. Trump thinks he won the king of the United States sweepstakes, not the presidency of the United States. He thinks he's the king of the world. He wants to be king of Venezuela. He wants to be king of Gaza. He wants to be king of Greenland. He wants to be king of Canada. He wants to be king of Mexico. He wants to be king of Panama. So let's go back to here. So this is like other military actions in the past year. He's launched attacks on, Iran is another one. Iraq, Nigeria, Somalia, Syria, Yemen. These are all places he's attacked militarily. Now he's threatening Cuba, Colombia, Mexico. So far, China, Russia, Colombia, and Spain have condemned as violation of international law. 5 GOP senators voted to advance war powers resolution, and he's really mad about it. He like called each of these 5 senators personally and threw a hissy fit. He's a tantrum throwing little toddler that the moment he doesn't get his way, of course he's going off and pretending that the Article 2 gives him the authority to do whatever he wants, as though Article 1 of the Constitution doesn't exist. And so now he wants to go after Greenland. Greenland ongoing threats. The president and his team are discussing a range of options to pursue this important foreign policy goal. And of course, utilizing the U.S. military is always an option at the commander-in-chief's disposal. I don't know. I mean, like, does anybody really, like, even the most MAGA of MAGAs, do you really think that we should go to war over Greenland? Or do you think that ending NATO is a good idea? Or do you think that Greenland is like doesn't have a right to self-autonomy? Do you think Greenland is a threat? Do you think that just because Trump wants their resources, they're a matter of national security? Like, can anybody defend that? Because I haven't even heard MAGAs try to defend that, but I haven't heard a MAGA with the courage to criticize it either. Nobody? Anybody? Still not hearing anything. I'm giving you a chance. All I see is one guy talking about Tim Walz and Minnesota fraud. Everybody else seems to have like puckered up, to borrow one of your terms. Okay, let's go. So here's the problem with all his. Oh, Stephen Miller, by the way. What's the first thing Stephen Miller? All right, here. Hey, Kitty. What's the first thing Stephen Miller does when he wakes up?
What?
Opens the lid.
Nosferatu.
So, I love a good Stephen Miller joke. All right, so Stephen Miller said should have Greenland as part of the United States. Refused to rule out taking by force. Nobody's going to fight the United States military over the future of Greenland. He's gotten some really psychotic rants lately. Like, basically, he's saying that the U.S. should be able to like take over anybody it wants, any country it wants to, because it wants to, and because we can. Here's the problem. Greenland is part of Denmark, a NATO ally. 85% of Greenlanders oppose joining the U.S. Greenland leaders, we don't want to be Americans. We don't want to be Danes. We want to be Greenlanders. Donald Trump was sitting there talking about trying to offer them money to join the United States, as though, one, it's his money to offer. Like, where is congressional authorization for this funding? And B, he's like saying, you know, like it's a carrot or stick thing to him. Either take the money or we conquer you. He's like, one way or another.
That's what he did with both Venezuela and what he has told both Cuba and Mexico. Make a deal if I want or else.
I think he wants to own the entire Western Hemisphere. And basically, I think he sees the world that way. That we own the Western Hemisphere. It is ours. And he's effectively said that on numerous occasions. The Denmark PM warned U.S. military action would be the end of everything for NATO, and European response is a joint statement. Greenland belongs to its people. Sorry. Don't know why I've got the yawns. Senator Ruben Gallego is introducing a resolution. Okay, so introducing resolution to prevent invasion. Representative Don Bacon, a Republican, said, "Stop the stupid. We want Greenland BS. This is appalling. Greenland is a NATO ally. Only 7% of Americans support military invasion." So where are you at? We voted for this crowd. Where are you? Why don't I hear you defending invasion of Greenland? You ask MAGA, do you really think, etc. You should ask, do you really think? I think that most people that aren't MAGA, I don't have to ask them. But I see what you're saying. I could just ask in general. But I'm specifically targeting MAGA on purpose. You and Furry are hilariously dumb or just playing to get paid comments. I don't know what that means. What is a paid comment anyway? Oh, is that the stickers? I don't know. You want to give me one? Go ahead. Miller looks like Goebbels and Gollum had a legitimate child and had he does. And he sounds like it too. Some of these interviews he's had are just screeching psychopathic rants that are just really weird. Have you seen, Brett, I bet you know, have you seen like some of the things his cousin has said about him? His cousin is just like, I'm glad our grandparents aren't alive to see this. Like, we weren't raised this way. Apparently he's not a big, like even his own family is not a big fan of his. Wait till they start getting drafted. The all starts. Wait till they start getting drafted and they'll start singing a different tune. Yeah, how many wars are we going to fight before it's not like an overnight operation? Most of them were bots run by 1 and 2 people. When one left, from embarrassment to botnet with. Yeah, that's the way it happens. It's like I'll have like one person leave, and it's like 26 people will leave at one time. And as you know, they're all connected to each other. And they talk to each other too. Like they're like, oh, you know, like they'll have these like inside conversations going on as though they're collectively owning me or something. Oh yeah, I just remembered the Texans game is on tonight. So let's keep going here. See if I can get to the end of this. All right. So Kushner's, oh yeah, so here's the next thing. Is the way he's just making money hand over fist, either for himself or for his family or for his friends. So there's the $112 billion Gaza development, Project Sunrise, developed by Jared Kushner and Stephen Witkoff. Stephen Witkoff's name keeps popping up all over the place. Stephen Witkoff's name is popping up with his cyber currency, with the Russia negotiations, with the Gaza negotiations, with the Gaza development. Stephen Witkoff apparently bought Stephen Trump a sandwich like 40 years ago when the first time he declared bankruptcy. So developed by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, total cost $112 billion over 10 years. U.S. commits $60 billion. So that's taxpayer money going directly to Jared Kushner, $60 billion. Luxury hotels, high-speed rail, AI grids, Gaza Riviera by year 10, 70% of coastline monetized, projected $55 billion in returns. But guess who's going to see that money? And I don't think that it's Palestinians that are going to be living there in that place. For Palestinians, 2 million displaced to temporary shelter. Plan doesn't specify where they'd live. They must remove 68 million tons of rubble and remove 10,000 bodies, remove the unexploded mines. So this is just sad. And the Gaza Governance of Peace, Board of Peace, Transitional Authority headed by Trump. This is why I say Trump wants to be president of the world. He wants to be king of the world. Possible Kushner role on the board. And I mean, just so offensive. See you, Brett. Thanks for stopping by. I like it once all the bots leave and when we can just have like real conversations. I like it when all the bots are here too, just because it drives up the numbers, but I like it better when we can talk. Okay, so almost done. So Kushner's Affinity Partners receives $2 billion from Saudi Arabia, from the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. Saudi Crown Prince overruled board objections, pays Kushner $25 million annually, $1.5 billion from Qatar and UAE, plus the $500,000 airplane that's going to get $1 billion modification that only goes to Trump. Kushner's defense: what people call conflicts of interest, Steve and I call experience and trusted relationships. I would like to remind you, Kushner has no experience at all in any of this. Neither does Witkoff. Saudi Arabia's interests spearheading urgent Arab efforts to develop a plan for Gaza's future. Witkoff's conflicts: family has deep business ties to Gulf nations, partnered with Trump family on cryptocurrency company World Liberty Financial, received $2 billion investment from UAE Wealth Fund. So this is just like Trump and his buddies. I think I've read it's now up to $13.2 billion he's made off of his first year of presidency. But we're supposed to be worried that Hunter Biden sold a painting while Joe Biden was president. So $13.6 billion or $13.6 million in payments from foreign governments up to $160 million. This is Senator Chris Murphy has cited that he's made $13.6 million in payments from foreign governments up to $160 million from foreign sources during time in office. Current second term enrichment, Qatar, $5.5 billion Trump banded a luxury hotel, golf resort, and villa complex. Saudi Arabia, $1 billion Trump International Hotel and tower in Dubai. Is that the one you were talking about earlier, Kitty? No, that's Saudi Arabia. Second high-end tower in Jeddah. Website offers free 10-year golden visas to the United States. Were you going to say something?
There's a new one that's in Saudi, and then there's that one on top of it. There's another new resort that's getting ready to get brought up in Qatar also. That hasn't made mainstream yet.
At least Eric Trump isn't selling paintings.
Right?
You know, like Hunter Biden, that corrupt fella. The Trump holdings as much as $7.1 billion in cryptocurrencies while he's pardoning the guy that literally made his cryptocurrency. Like some of these things, it's not even, here, I'll pardon you. Oh, here's this cryptocurrency worth $7.2 billion. Coincidence? I don't think so. Saudi LIV Golf hosted tournament at Trump's Florida club. Paid massive undisclosed sum. We don't even know how much money he's making off of this. He says he's the most transparent president ever, but he's about as transparent as a brick house. Mar-a-Lago now, membership fees. Mar-a-Lago now has a $1 million membership fee. Bedminster now has $125,000 membership fee. Executive branch, DC, $500,000 minimum. Do you think that they're just paying to play golf? You think do you think that Mar-a-Lago is really, the golf is that great that they're paying $1 million a year for membership?
Did you happen to also note the brand new exclusive club that just opened in DC that's like $1 million to join, and only the most exclusive rich people can and have access to the White House?
Is that the executive branch thing?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's that one. Oh, yeah. There it is. I'm making sure I got that one. Yeah.
Media settlements. So like Bilka and the media. There's no way, every legal expert will tell you that none of these cases would ever go his way in court. He just used the power of the government to leverage them to settle. Foreign investment claims, Saudi Arabia's $600 billion pledge. Trump asking to round to $1 trillion. India, $500 billion. Actual goal for bilateral trade. Oh, I think these are his, this is talking about his claims that these people are going to invest this much money. Guess how much money has actually been invested out of that? Zero would be the correct answer. None of that, like he's talking about $17 trillion as though it's our entire GDP is $34 trillion. That he increased our GDP by 50% through these pledges is just patently ridiculous. And a lot of them, like, they don't even have enough GDP themselves to match that, pledge that he's saying. And none of those countries are agreeing that they pledged it.
Well, and quite frankly, we even have a hot mic with Meta's leader where he's like, I just came up with a number. I wasn't sure if that was big enough for you when talking about investment in the U.S.
Oh, goodness. So, these are just made up numbers that have no bearing on reality. I hadn't heard about the hot mic. by what's his name, the head of Facebook guy. What's his name?
Zuckerberg. Zuckerman.
There's a Zuckerberg born every minute. Tariffs average burden $2,100 per household. So this is just talking about how while he's making all that money for himself, the middle Americans and poor Americans are paying more money in taxes. They just don't call them taxes. They call them tariffs, but they're still taxes. He's gained about $1.6 billion in assets as of June and $600 million in income. He's raised in excess of $1.5 billion. And that's not counting the cryptocurrency. So if we want to like just go through a checklist, is he a tyrant? Rule above the law? Yes. My own morality is the only thing that can stop me. Personal benefit over common good, billions in foreign deals while in office at the expense of the average person. Use state apparatus versus opponents, DOJ prosecuting Comey, James, Schiff, and Cook. State violence against citizens, ICE killing, domestic terrorist labels. Economic punishment of opposition, $10 billion. Frozen to democratic states, threatened to independent institutions, criminal investigations of Fed share. Unilateral military force, Venezuela, Iran, and 7 other countries, including Greenland and Canada. Silence critics via state power, FCC, extortion of media companies. Territorial expansion, Venezuela, Greenland threats versus NATO ally. Foreign enrichment schemes, Kushner's $157 million in fees. Gaza plan. Wow. So I think that covers enough.
And if this is what they put out loud, imagine what he's hiding. Like,
and this is just what we know about. How much money has been I've looked into that. And the thing is, depends on how you count it. Like if you count the cryptocurrency, like literally billions, and that's just what we know about. I wonder, and then there's other things like Juan, what is it? Juan Orlando Hernandez, the Honduras guy. Like people don't know about the Zeeds, and Peter Thiel invested in the Zeeds. That Hernandez was the guy that like designed the whole thing. And the Zeeds are these like city states, these private city states that will like issue passports, and you can, like you can join them for like $1 million, and there's like a no taxes or 1% taxes or like these really low tax rates. And there'll be like these private militaries there on this island that's basically owned by billionaires, and the billionaires can all sit there and just be little billionaires together and keep out the riffraff, so to speak, and not pay any taxes, and just be, do what, they'll be their own little island city states. And Peter Thiel has like invested a bunch of money into one of these on an island in near Honduras that's actually part of Honduras control. And they hang on one second. My wife is having an imaginary argument, so it's distracting. She tends to do this thing. She gets in these imaginary arguments with her brother. He's MAGA. So anyway, the Zeeds, like the amount of wealth involved in those things is just like it gets into the trillions, and it's all connected to the Honduras thing because they were trying to end the program, and then Peter Thiel was suing, and like basically, if he wins the lawsuit, it'll destroy the entire nation. He's suing for like 1/3 of their GDP. So, and it's already one of the poorest countries in the world. And anyway, Donald Trump, if you notice, when he pardoned Hernandez, he also endorsed the guy that was running for the that candidate for the guy that's from the same party as Hernandez for president. And this is a guy that Peter Thiel wants to win because he's going to give them their seeds back. So, like, how do you count that into how much they're getting? He's getting paid in bribes. And these are also, by the way, the same people that are making the tech policy that's making Donald Trump billions and billions of dollars. I heard they were seizing all of his properties starting. I have who's huh? I don't know anything about that. Oh, for the Carroll case. I think he's probably got enough money now. But he was like almost broke at one point. And I think the E. Jean Carroll case, he's still on the hook for, but the fine for the fraud case, he got the appeals court said he doesn't owe any money because it was excessive, which was a ridiculous decision. Like, he wouldn't have won that appeal if he didn't win the election. They aren't cheap. There's some silly looking things though. Oh, you're talking about the golden sneakers? Yes, there's somebody that stupid. What about the phones? The rebranded used phones, the Trump phones that ended up just being like some kind of old phone that was just being like, it was a refurb. Do you what do you know about that, Kitty?
Say again. I'm sorry. I was
You were
discussing. I was typing a comment where I was discussing how the golden sneakers complemented the ear Kotex.
What were the phones? You remember the phones?
Oh yeah, they were refurbished like 3 generations back iPhones.
iPhones, that's what.
They were refurbished iPhones, and most people haven't even gotten them yet.
And they're like $500 a piece or something.
It's a piece.
Yeah, this is
the made in China watches.
I mean, there's just he is, if nothing, if not original when it comes to finding ways to scam his own followers out of money.
I have a theory about all that crap.
What's that?
My theory is that's one of the ways they launder money. I think that they go in and create these products for foreign governments and such to purchase, to be able to launder money and funnel money to them. That's what I think.
That sounds like a valid theory.
I've seen others do something similar.
And if they accidentally make some money off some saps in the process,
it's not a big deal, right? Right.
I just like, I think of some things where I'm just like, that should have been the end of it. Like, there's so many of them. But in the 2020 election, where he would have like the default box clicked where I don't know if you heard about this or if you remember it, but like if you were contributing to his money for if you were giving him a contribution, they'd have a default box to make it a recurring monthly payment. And you have to actually uncheck that box, and it was like hidden somewhere. You had to like look for the box to uncheck it.
I
So a
actually
lot of people were like contributing money to his, like they go and they
didn't
give
realize that
like
they were.
their last $200 to him or something, and then it would like just keep coming out, and so then they'd find out like they had donated $20,000 to his campaign when they never intended to. And they
Well,
were still supporting him. It wasn't his fault.
I still get his newsletters from the campaign because I get the newsletters from everybody because I want to read everything that's happening.
Mhm.
And the other day, I think it was last week or the week before, they had one that said like, "Are you ready for your check? Click here like to see what your refund check looks like." And what it ends up being is that you're donating to him, but he makes it seem like he's writing a check to you.
That doesn't sound at all scammy.
No, not at all.
I'm just wondering when he's going to send out a text message from your bank saying, call here to verify that you wanted to give money to Trump or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't want to give money to Trump, and then you call and then you give him all your bank information and he just empties your account. If it really happened, we would still be here hearing about it from him bragging about how he took one for the country, but nothing over the country, nothing but crickets. If he's a billionaire, why is he bothering with sneakers and phones? Because that's what he does. Like he's just, I think there's like this old story about, I can't remember who it was. A novelist, it was a successful novelist, was meeting one of the richest people in the world. And he was at this rich person's house. I can't remember who it was. It was like, what's his name? They made a movie about him. Johnny Depp played the guy. Kind of a drug guy. Anyway, so this novelist went to this billionaire's house, and the billionaire was sitting there going, I've got this, and telling him how much money it was worth, and trying to show off, trying to impress this guy. And he's like, wow, that's really nice. And then somebody talks to the novelist afterwards, and he's like, what do you think about all that stuff? And he's like, well, it's a lot of nice things, but I have something that he will never have. Enough. And that's Donald Trump in a nutshell.
Secret Window was I think the name of the film.
No, it was
not The Secret. No.
Hunter something or other.
Okay. Oh, Hunter S. Thompson?
Yes. Hunter S. Thompson is the novelist.
Yes. That's my partner's favorite writer, Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, he's the one that said, I have enough, which I think is a cool quote.
That's kind of how I feel in life, is like, I have enough. I don't need.
So we're getting up on 4 hours here. So I think that is enough, ironically. So I think we've established here that Donald Trump is indeed a tyrant. He's not just a bad orange man. He is a bad orange tyrant. So thanks for coming, you guys. I will see you tomorrow. I don't know what I'll talk. Maybe tomorrow I'll be able to talk about the whole War Powers Act, because I really want to talk about the War Powers Act and the gradual erosion of the whole rights of Congress. That didn't start with Trump, but they have accelerated under Trump. So, all right. Thanks again, Rodney and James. Nice to meet you. If you haven't subscribed, James, punch that button. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.